I remember when I was 12, my parents and I, we took a tour at the Walt Disney Animation Studio in Orlando, and it was wonderful to actually see an animation studio, but however, it was apparent that the secrets that they have was definitely elusive to the outsider, you know, because here as a tourist, we were behind a plexiglass, so that plexiglass was pretty much like a solid metaphor for like that veil as mystery. But so flashing forward, you know, I still wanted to learn animation, but just it was impossible at the moment, at the time, because in order to learn, you would have to go to out-of-state university or a private college or even overseas, and it was virtually impossible for me at the time. Earlier last year or so that I started to take animation courses, and I'm telling you, I have seen so many online animation courses, but there was always still that veil of mystery. Flash forward to this year, I came across AMB's YouTube channel, AMB Real Animators Training, and I was blown away. I just couldn't believe, you know, the knowledge that he was putting out there, the lectures that he was doing. It just pretty much ripped that veil of mystery off the face of the earth. And the thing that really sets his archive, his online lectures and stuff apart from everyone else is the basics. That's the one thing that a lot of the books, a lot of the online animation stuff lack, was the extreme basics, you know. And when I started on that archive, I started understanding the spacing, the timing, the arcs, the slow in, the slow out, and with each exercise it builds up on each other. And as a result, I start seeing, you know, the arcs. I start understanding and timing things in my head, and it was just so fascinating. And because of that, it just helped revive, you know, my lifelong desire of learning animation. And it just made me so happy that I'm able to pursue and to dream of becoming an animator. So thank you.
So, are you gonna join the library?
Hello and welcome once again to another edition of AMB Animation live stream. Right, so it's funny because Michael Kilner Davis is on the stream today, and he partially inspired my stream for today. I'm very busy at the moment. I'm trying to finish a really complex piece of animation by the end of this month. It's like 600 frames worth, even if you half that, 300 frames of this huge character that's fully dialogue, fully in between, and it's got a lot of pencil mileage on it. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking I've got to stream this week. What I'm going to do is like in the group, I saw Michael following some of my videos, which is more on the hand-eye coordination aspect of how to draw. Let me pull up the growth, development and progress group. I'm not really going to look at the stuff in that group yet. I think it needs to, we need a few more posts in there, but I'll quickly share my screen with you. And so Michael has been posting stuff up, which is stuff like this. Hang on, we'll find it. Like this Bagheera, right? And this lion and this, and he's following my videos, which I've uploaded on YouTube, to do that. Now I know Michael I don't know him personally, but I know him as a member of this group. He's already quite proficient at hand-eye coordination drawing. And what I see in Michael's drawings that's lacking a little bit is that cartoon finesse, which perhaps he's applying the very strict hand-eye coordination, shape techniques, structure techniques that I'm introducing to him in those videos, which is all very helpful, and it's all very helpful in getting your drawing, your hand-eye coordination good, and giving you an introduction to shapes. Now, what I want you to do for me, as I'm just going to say hello to everybody so we can save a bit of time, is I've often talked, because why I'm here is I'm here to educate people and help people understand the importance of strong cartoon drawing. They hear me bash the new stuff all the time, and they think, some people who don't know what I'm about, who don't know what hand-drawn animation is, what real animation is, think that I'm just being negative or I'm bashing that stuff, and it's, you know, and they're fans of that stuff. So what I want you to do, to be fair, is to give me, like, I'm not talking about anime or more humanistic things. I'm talking pure cartoon. So all I can think of is Cartoon Network, Animaniacs, but even that's old. I want you to give me an example of something that you think is a really good modern cartoon character that's current, right? Not, you know, that's using all this symbol software. I was going to say something else there. But the thing is because as people are trying to learn to draw cartoons, and I'm talking cartooning, okay, not the anime stuff, the cartooning, the wacky, the cartooning characters, as people are trying to learn how to draw that stuff, they're looking at this stuff that's been designed for software, these big shapes. So if you can't suggest one to me, I'm going to Google the new DuckTales, and I'm going to make a drawing from that, and I'm going to show you why I believe it to be extremely bad, and then I'm going to proceed to take some model sheets of television cartoons from the 80s. So we're not even talking, well, that's a bit cheating because one of them's from the Chipmunks, Alvin Chipmunks movie, and that had Glenn Keane working on it. So, and I can recognize the drawings in some, but I'm going to cheat a bit and use that, but that's still not an A-grade feature film. And we're going to look at the cartoon drawing in that. And I'm not going to teach you like a hand-eye coordination thing. I'm going to be fast, and I'm going to talk about the shapes. And I'm going to talk about why these are strong drawings and why you need to focus on these things if you want to get good at hand-drawn real animation, as opposed to simplifying your drawings, which have been simplified for tweening software. In the AI world, there'll be no need for you if you draw like that, because AI is getting better and better and better and better, and eventually the AI designs are already got that stiff quality to them, right? So what'll make you relevant and what'll still make you better than AI is your ability to add flair and all that kind of stuff with your line and your expression, and that's what the old cartoons have, and which is why they're so much stronger. And I'm doing this stream to study that stuff and to illustrate it to you. So I'm going to say hello to the people in the chat, and then I'm going to see if people have kind of suggested something. So to be fair, and if I see something in the new stuff that I think is good, I'll say it. I'll say, well, actually, you got me there. You know, this is strong cartooning, but I don't think so, but we'll look. Okay. So we've got CP Video Creations here. Good to see you, Cameron, Alan Davidson Black, Max Power, CG Tunes, Life Fantasy, good to have you online. We already acknowledged Mr. Davis, BC Wendale, KA, thank you so much, KA. Dylan Royer, please say you're making an animated feature film. Disney is, don't worry, showman, AMB Animation is here. AMB Animation is the new standard bearer of high quality hand-drawn animated content being produced to fuller effect. Stuff will happen, whether it will be necessarily for families or for kids. Not that my stuff is not for that, but in this day and age, everything comes with a trigger warning. Everything is being deleted, some classic things. I heard from a site that Disney is now removing all the stuff from their archives and destroying it. because they believe it doesn't represent the present day. So that's very sad for me to learn of that. They've actually only got 30 people in the archives now. So that's sad, but that's gone. But so why I'm saying that is the stuff that I'm producing may not necessarily be, even though I would like it to be for families, it's going to be niche, it's going to be crowdfunded, so we can keep it to its original, for the people that want to watch it, and for those that don't want to watch it, well, okay, don't watch it. So that's what's happening. So don't worry, I am working at that on that, Showman. That's what AMB Animation is being involved into, spreading real animation and hand-drawn animation out as much as we can, and remembering the Walt Disney Company for what it was, high quality hand-drawn animated content. Peppa Pig, Pepe the Frog from Pepe Lore Animation. Okay, so I don't know anything of this. Garnet from Steven Universe. Let's Google some of these, right? And then we'll move on. So I'm going to change my screen. Going to hit my mic. So I've got to be quick on the Google. Okay, so we've got Garnet, Steven Universe. Okay. Images. Okay. Right, yeah, this is exactly why I think this is very... I'm going to look for a pose that's got more life, if there can be a pose. I mean, the character's always just standing in still form here. So official art, right, not fan art. Okay, so it's really hard to find a pose that's actually got any life to it. We're trying. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this pose here, right? Right. So excuse me while I'm not gonna run it down. All right, that's not what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna draw it, and I'm gonna explain to you why I think it's poor, right? Right. So what we have, what I can see, it's using shape language here. So we simply have a basic shape like this, a shape here like this, right? And another kind of shape encapsulating that, where we're going to divide that. So this isn't the good part of the stream, right? This is, well, I guess it's all gonna be a good stream. Now that's pretty good, right? I'll give it that. It's angling it out to the side to give it a feminine feel, even though it's quite a butch character. So then we've got two shapes here, straight line here, straight line here, a big shape here. This is extremely rigid drawing. Another shape in here and another shape in here, and then a big kind of shape like this, right here, like that, and then another kind of square shape halfway along there, like that, right? So I'm going to take a more constructive approach. I'm not going to just talk poorly about it. So I'm going to talk why I think it's bad, but okay, let's start drawing it in, right? So we've got a head here. Now in that head, we've obviously got a division line, and we're going to divide it in the middle like that. And we're going to put the triangles of the glasses in there like that, right? Can you see how already so simple this is, right? And then from here, now simple doesn't necessarily mean bad, but I'm going to show you the same thing with the model sheets of old lore, right? So then we're just going to put some lines in there like that, right? So that's essentially the character's head, right? That looks like, with all due respect, when you're a school kid and you're trying to draw create your own comics in the back of your maths book, and you can't quite draw people, but that's the kind of simple thing that you can keep drawing all the time, right? So that's the head, right? That's the big hairstyle in the back, right? Then we've got this rounded, almost round, but still kind of cuboid shape. They're cutting into it like that. This is almost like a robot. And then they've got this flash. So you can put a line here like this, right? How this is done is they've divided it in half, and then they put a little triangle along the upper third of it like that. And then you simply just have the pattern. So all the formula is literally right there, and it's extremely flat, by the way. They're not really curving that line. It's extremely flat. You could say intentionally flat. But the thing is this stuff is being trickled down. It's like saturated the market, and it's been trickled down, and the young kids are watching this stuff, and they're wanting to draw like that. Then those young kids become teenagers and adults, young adults, and they're still drawing like this. And hand-drawn animation is going to be very, very hurt. Okay, because this kind of mindset is so basic, it's so simplistic, that even that if you punch into an AI software, design me something, it'll design it like this, and it'll design it perfectly, because there's no flair for human emotion or characteristic or life in the drawing, right? So I'm just going to divide this, right? There's nothing much to this, right? And then we're going to create, I'm going to speed up here. It's a little bit better than what I've done there, but it's not by a long shot, right? So then we're going to put a star in there like that, right? And then this one is coming like this. Now here you've got the W pose or the M pose being poorly executed, right? So then how these hands are just literally just squares, right? They're literally squares, and they're filling in the squares like that, and then you're creating knuckle dusters with little triangles, and then you're putting a little star on there like that, and then you're creating a little hole in there to give it the impression that there's somehow a lot of like this. This is exemplifying what a beginner needs to know about animation, which is shape simplification. But it's so simple, and there's no real lean or life to the thing. Now we've got the down on here, we've just got these round hips, right, which literally come here like this, but then they've been a little bit intelligent to break it off, right, from that point, right, to give it a little bit of a feel like that. Then you've got this one coming around here like that, and down here. Now some of you who want to draw like this will probably be thinking, this is gold, I'm really learning how this is in a shape, and you divide the triangle along the center line, right? But just hang on a minute, because I'm going to tell you why I'm going to just keep watching the stream, and you're going to see why. You can still like it, but you're going to see why it's really hindering any real progress that you're going to make in drawing. Right, so then this just comes straight along here like that, with a simple triangle for the foot. This is a very kind of modern art argument as to what is art. What do you know about that? And what makes it good and what might. Now here's, to me, okay, that's the character, right? To me, this gets a big okay. It is just very, very, the words that I'm going to use is stiff, right? No life, basic, bland, uninformed, and overall poor. So let's take each one of them at a time, right? So let's talk about stiff. There's no hip and shoulder line, there's no anatomy references in the pose, right? I'm gonna undo those lines and use a different color for that. Let's use blue for that. Let's use my red. So we have no hip and shoulder counterbalance. If there is, it's very subtle, right? it's everything is also, you know, along this line, you know, even if the head is leaning slightly, everything is just, you know, even the hair, this is the hair, right? Stiff. No life, okay? There's literally nothing in this expression. I mean, that's the mouth shape. That's how they're expressing the personality of the mouth. There's a bottom lip on there which I've missed out, but I don't think you're missing much from that, right? Everything is kind of lining up like this, which again goes to the stiff. Very, very weak. No appeal. Unappealing, right? That's probably I'm going to get rid of poor and replace it with unappealing, right? If that's how you spell it, right? Also, what have we got? So we've done unappealing, we've done no life, we've done stiff. Basic, all right? It's a square. It's telling us it's a square. It's divided like that, right? This is basically a circle and another, you know, another circle, and along the middle line we've just created that, and we've created that negative space, and that's how the character is put together. The shoulders again are just like pipes coming off hair, and they're just putting square. So it's just basic, very basic construction. Again, bland, meaning like even this is supposed to be curled. They could have curled that shape to give it some rounding, but they've literally kept everything flat. Again, the hairstyle has no information. It is just bland, with a few like little stars and patterns, and color scheme, it could be a little bit interesting. Silhouette could be a little bit interesting, so I'll give it that, you know, perhaps not as bland as I initially said. So I'm trying to be as fair as I can here, right? Uninformed as again was what I was talking about. No hip, no shoulder line. The slightest bit of formation is the way that they've given a bit of anatomical, like going against the knee here and pointing out there. That gets a win for me. That's good. But overall, it's very uninformed in terms of the, you know, which arm is in front of the other, right? We kind of get a little bit of effect. In fact, I've pushed it more in my drawing that this foot is in front of the other. The original, it's slightly in front, but it's about hair, right? So, you know, it's so bad that my intention to illustrate that, I still couldn't bring myself to draw that badly, right? So you've got uninformed and unappealing. So that's what I have to say about that piece of cartooning. Now let's have a look at what's in your what else is in the list. Emma from Universal Unicorn Warriors is a good one. Okay, somebody else has mentioned Tom and Jerry. I'm not going to talk about Tom and Jerry because the originals are amazing, and then even Chuck Jones did a few of those, so that'll go back in the... What is Crollo Lucifer? Max Power has said Crollo Lucifer. Now remember, we want cartoon characters. We don't want no, this is not a cartoon character. This is a more even this, I can talk about human drawings and good anime and bad anime, but we're not doing those characters. I want to improve and help people's understanding of cartooning, because arguably live action and CG can do the human stuff better. I don't think so. So the more 2D, the more hand-drawn you are, the more you want to reach into cartooning. So we're going to talk cartooning here, right? So not that one. Yes, absolutely twinning. So we have got... Yeah, Zedbo, I'm going to fix that in this stream today. Moy was unsubscribed. Wow, Moy. Peter Griffin from Family Guy. He's awful, but he's not so new. But he's Gwen Stacy from Across the Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse is CGI. I'm talking the 2D cartooning. We had one more. Unicorn Warriors. Emma from Unicorn Warriors. Let's Google that. Emma Unicorn Warriors. I want people to understand cartooning. Yeah, this is a very bad drawing. Okay, sorry to the person who... Let's find the one that I can find with the most life in it, and then we'll talk about... so I'm going to type official art. Official art. Okay, this is a little bit black in terms of the whole image is black, so I can't make it out. I want to look at a full body pose. I can't quite find a full, but I'm just finding stuff from the face. And a lot of this looks like fan art. It's so bad. That's why I'm doing today's stream. That even people doing 2D today, they're like those self-trained people, like the Has-Been Hotel stuff, and I'm not downing anything, but it's just very, it's got this amateur twang to it, and we want to try and help you draw better. I don't know if that's God. It's this Gendy Tartakovsky. Well, okay, right. So I can't find a drawing of this character fully. The only one I can find is this, which is just an outline silhouette. So I'm gonna draw it, but I can't find something that looks like a full-on body pose. So this is a little bit better than the other one. We've got this. We've got this. So we've got an interesting silhouette where the head is kind of resting in, right? And the body pose is like, it's like it's got a little bit of anatomy to it. That's literally all it is, right? So again, it's the body is all in black, people, so I can't really, I struggled to find an image that I could this is a little bit better than it. This is better than the other drawing by miles, right? So I'll be fair, right? The other character was the example of all that I think is wrong with cartoon drawing today. This is a little bit better, but the face is just awful. Right, okay, so I'm just gonna come in here and do the face, which has absolutely, the face looks like it's sliding in cutout even when it's stiff. So they've captured that awful sense of sliding movement even in a still drawing. So you just know how this thing is gonna move when you look at it, right? They've gone for this Betty Boop. I can see the influence of Betty Boop and Fleischer in some of the shape choices, right? I'm just giving myself a map, and then we're going to talk about the construction of the face, what little of it there is, okay? And then we're going to go here, right? Okay, so that's in a nutshell the character, right? We're going to go in here and we're going to start talking about the face. So obviously they've got the round head and this bean shape, so they're thinking of the character like that, and it's got a center line with these kind of things along here, and it's got the usual eye width apart business going on. So we've got a eye shape that's just heavy and big, and then this is what makes the eye completely dead, right? This kind of Pac-Man. You can call it, people can say that's the style, but we've been, how many years has it been? Like, I keep forgetting, like, for me, I still remember the 90s, and the 90s wasn't even the best time for cartooning, it was just average in my opinion. But we had the 90s, like, that was when I was a kid, a teenager growing up, and, I still feel like, oh yeah, that's current. I haven't, there's this thing when you age, right? I'm in my mid 40s, pushing my late 40s now, right? So there's this thing when you age, where you kind of like you don't realize just how much time has gone past. So how many years has it been? since we've had good cartooning. My God, over 20. So I'm here to help the generations that desperately want to get good at hand-drawn animation and say, well, it's not you that's broken, it's the stuff that you've been watching, and I'm going to highlight that, why it's broken for you, to help you go back, rework your skills and focus on the what matters, right? So already this face is extremely lifeless because of these big eyes, that just literally have this flat look inside them like that. The mouth has got a bit of dimension to it, right? They've kind of cupping this bottom lip. This is good, right? But it's like a rubber ring, right? We're gonna look at some really pushed cartoon mouth shapes that are gonna kind of help us when we move. Now we've got inside teeth to give it a bit of depth there like that, right? That's literally a very, very flat, pasted on look to the face. Now if you want to get good at cartoon drawing, the last thing you want is a pasted on look to the face. Why? Because then just do it in software, right? There's a lot of people that are software obsessed, but this channel's not about software, right? This is about hand-drawn, real high quality animation, something that AI will not be able to reproduce, because hand-drawn art strokes are organic and expressive to the individual making them. So even if you programmed AI to be as organic as it could be, the artist could still make another shape that is not been memorized or programmed into AI, because we have infinite intelligence. AI is limited by everything, all the data that it has got from us, and that's a vast sea of stuff. But we're still creating new things all the time based from pure imagination, but you've got to be versed in that stuff. Now this arm is a little bit nice, okay? This stuff is quite anatomical based. Now I wish I could draw the character, but I can't, right? Draw anything more than that because it is literally all in black, right? Then you've got this coming around here. What I do like is the person who's drawn this is obviously got anatomical knowledge, right? So they've got the hand shape coming back on itself with the thumb. This gets a win for me, right? That's nice, right? This hand shape is, just the standard fare, right? I'm not gonna rubbish this hand shape because we see that in a lot of 90s hand-drawn cartoons as well, right? So I can't see anything else. Maybe there's something more to it, like I'm tempted to go and do that, but then I might enrich the drawing, so I'm just gonna, it's all in black. That's all I can see. So this drawing gets a little bit more win for me, but here's what I think about it. I think it is, I'm gonna use the word basic, entry level. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Stiff, I'm still gonna call it stiff. I'm going to call it unappealing. Now you can say, well, I find it appealing. What's so unappealing about it? I'm going to explain the law of appeal when we look at the real stuff. Okay, so just hang on. So what do I mean by basic, right? Basic entry level is he's got entry level anatomical knowledge, right? We can see the understanding of anatomy. We can see a little bit of a latissimus dorsi here. So he's taken a human body, he's got flowing. So that's a win, but I want something more, right? I want something more. We've got the hip and shoulder line actually working there, because although the butt's up here, we can see that this is here, whereas that leg would probably be more like this if I was going to start adding my own drawings to it, right? What makes it again stiff for me is the zero expression. Zero expression. It literally looks like I have a stamp in my hand, right? And on that stamp, right, on the reverse side of that stamp is this face. And again, the basicness of it is like we're just going to create a head like this, right? And then along there we've got the ear, right? And then you've got the middle, and then you're going to have these big eyes like that, right? And then on the bottom, it'll have lashes on the bottom and heavy on the top. And then we're going to fill in most of that and cut that like that. Then we'll put a little triangle nose and a mouth, right? And then we're just going to start creating all this stuff around it, right? Any entry-level rookie will be able to create this drawing, and getting expressions out of it would not necessarily be challenging. So yeah, very weak work. Now again, I'm not running this stuff down. I'm going to do one more, 36 minutes. I'm going to do one more AMB, how about Jasper from Klaus? I'm not going to talk about Jasper from Klaus because that's a feature animation. It's not so widely out there as cartooning. Jasper from Klaus is alright, he's good. He's drawn by people who really know what they're doing. It's a feature budget thing. I still find it a little bit simplistic and shape orientated, but it would be disingenuous of me to rip that stuff apart because it's drawn by people who are very good and animated by people who are very good, and you can see it in their work. But why I'm talking about these characters is Klaus is one tiny exception in a sea of content that has been piled upon the viewers, you the public, you the young animators growing up for over 20 to 30, almost pushing 30 years now, and you are literally learning to draw like this, and it's going to hurt hand-drawn animation, and it's going to hurt you. Jetsons are the father. Jetsons is old stuff, and Jetsons has actually got appeal to it. But that stuff was the birth of Cartoon Network, to be honest with you. I mean, that was economical design back then, but they knew how to draw back then. So, which is why that gets a pass for me. But the economical design of today, nobody's, like, drawing standard has gone completely out the window. Okay, so Magic Sword for Camelot. No, that's a feature film. It's very poor. It's very poor. The Twin Dragons are actually the best thing in there, actually. King Fu Conan, but that's really bad quality design. But that's still way stronger. I mean, you know, shocking to hear me say it, but if people were following that and drawing like that, I wouldn't be making this video. Okay. I'm going to do one more. I'm going to take something from Disney's DuckTales, the new one. Okay, and I'm going to try and look for the pose with the most life, if there is one, because they're all just stiff heads with. Okay, here's one trying to look like a character, trying to look like he's got some character, right? It almost looks like something the teacher at school would draw and ask the kids to stick coins in. Right, it's just, anyway, so let's tackle what's coming out of, you know, I didn't think you could fall so low, but they have actually dropped even below these standards now. The company that once, you know, the reason I'm here today, the reason I've had the animation career I've had today was because of the great man Walt Disney himself, and now I'm using his name, unfortunately, to talk about how something has fallen to the depths of, you know, the most ancient of sewage that exists today. But anyway, let's try to God, look at that. It's just so, look at that. We've got a diamond here and we've got a square here, right? It's just, you know, there's nothing wrong with having these basic shapes. It's great for people just learning how to draw, like from day one, right? To get a bit of confidence. Make a diamond, make a square, right? Jesus, sorry to people if I took that name in vain. It's just, I can't believe this is stuff from the Walt Disney Company, right? It's just like, okay, so this comes here like that, right? So what do I first see? I first see a TV screen, right? It's like, it's almost like the PlayStation logo or something, you know, and then we've got another little square here. That's literally what this character is made out of. Then they're gonna kind of like, so everything again is along this middle line where, ooh, they've been a bit risque and tried to, no, I promised I was going to be a little less you know, cynical, right? So let's see what they've done, right? So now my intention is to make a curl like this, but they've just got a straight line going along the middle, right? So this one is slightly turned this way, so his eyes are literally along the middle of his head, right? Just going up. We've got a triangle, right? They've kind of like, this is how they're doing expressions in this day and age, right? And then we're on the bottom of this triangle, we're going to sit these eyes in here. So flat is the order of the day, right? It's like, let's be, you know, completely alternate. Let's really, what's the word? Throw out all of the rules and the traditions of what was considered good, all of the skill, and let's just, you know, throw it in your face. You know, and let's try and be Pablo Picasso without the skill or knowledge, right? So anyway, right, so here we've got just a straight line for the mouth, right? And they've literally dressed that straight line by going between the triangle shape here and then going along here like this, right? This is literally the character. That is the character. God knows what the production budget for this show was and how much was given to the designers, but you can bet that some of you would be able to live doing nothing for a year on that, right? So okay, so the genius that went into this was that, right? Then now here along again the center line, right? We're just going to go a little bit off center and create another triangle shape like that, right? Then we're going to come straight down here and create a right angle, and then one here like this, right? We're going to come under here. I'm trying to do this in just a few strokes, and then I'll heavy it in, right? Just to illustrate what's being done, right? And then here, more twinning, right? Somebody in the chat had the intellect and foresight, congratulations to them, I can't remember who it was, to mention the word twinning. I mean, this stuff is twinning galore, right? Twinning, when used intelligently, is not bad. It's actually a very good tool, but when overused, it is extremely stiff, right? So here's where we add a tiny, minute bit of life by just angling that leg out a little bit to show a little bit of a hip line, right? So I am being fair. I'm giving the character, I'm telling you the things I see, which I can see that this person who has created this image out of probably manipulating a library of existing body parts has some basic, you know, 14-year-old knowledge, right? Knowledge of a 14-year-old school kid, right? Let's just consolidate it and go over it before I start telling you why everything is so poor in this image, right? So then along here we've got this. They're trying to create a texture of his garment to be soft. Well, what do you put in a quilt when you want to have a good sleep at night? Now, some people are not going to like this comment, but it's a fact. You can buy duck feather, goose feather. Now, why? Because feathers are super soft. So why are we trying to make the hoodie look soft and we're making his head look like a big block of plastic, you know. I really have no idea as to the design sensibilities of whoever did this. You know, for want of a better word, trash. So we have this and this, right? So here is the DuckTales character. This is possibly the worst one. Worse than the, what was the first one? Was it Steven Universe or something like that? This is just awful beyond belief. Let me tell you. So what do I see? I see stiff. I see unappealing, right? You know, I see basic, right? I see generic, right? And you know, just overall low standard, right? So once again, you know, the stiffness, everything is along this line. We have a little bit of a hip line here, like this. You have a little bit of, I'll tell you what, is there any school you can recommend for character design? Personally, no. I was going to talk about my training library, but I haven't done character design in it so much. We focus more on drawing and animation. So if somebody knows, because I know that a lot of the schools that are designing characters right now are teaching this shit, because they're producing people for the industry. And the thing is this one video that I'm giving you here will probably save your life if you want to be good at drawing and good at hand-drawn animation. And you're wondering why. Because, as I said, I grew up, I was a teenager in the 90s, and you forget just how long ago that was. And I'm thinking people should know. But no, you've all grown up watching this stuff, and you're all drawing this stuff, and it's not your fault. So I'm here to help you with this video and more of my content. So this is what makes it stiff. The one thing that saves it a little bit and gives it a tiny bit of character, which is why I've called it generic, is the angling of this leg out here like this, right? The hands in the pockets are twinning. We've got a hip line this way, but we don't really have much of a shoulder line going that way, right? It's kind of like just stiff, straight, and that. Basic. Well, basic, right? Let's just have a head like this. Let's just then divide the head like this, and let's put a triangle on there and float the eyes on the bottom, right? Let me now show you just how much appeal, before we go on and really look at the good stuff, let me show you how much appeal was even in like the 1940s. Okay, we had already we had heads, right? But then we had an eye line that went like this, right? So you had one eye line and the eye was small, right? And then you'd put something that came off the bottom like that, and then you'd have the smile, right? And then from there you'd cut in, and then you could change the expression, right? So you could change the expression by putting a ring here like this, right? And then you could change the angle. You could even put a little bit in the ear and out the ear. You had bodies with beans, right? Like this, right? So just me playing around here like this completely, you know, pisses all over this garbage, right? So let's now look at a model sheet from a B grade, C grade animated movie from the 1980s. And let's study the drawing and just how strong it was. Okay? Now I have a feeling this drawing was by Glenn Keane, right? But I can't be quoted for sure. So let's look at the complexity of shapes that real cartoonists had when drawing was a thing, right? And you weren't limiting your drawing for the sake of, can we reuse it in the computer, right? So we've got a round head here, all right, which comes in here underneath. Now look, this head is almost pointing this way, but the eye line is pointing this way. So immediate intelligence and appeal going on here. One eye is bigger than the other to give it depth, right? I'm just giving myself a little bit, because after doing such bad drawing, I'm now flipping over to doing amazing drawing and studying amazing drawing, right? So I don't normally get caught up in the face, but I'm just retraining my subconscious. We're doing good stuff now, sub, okay? So pay attention, right? So now we've got, this is going to come out here like this, the hand and the skirt. I'm going to fill it in and I'm going to explain the construction to you, don't worry. I don't want to fall into the trap of sharing with you hand-eye coordination things. So while I just quickly hand-eye coordinate my way through this, I will then just look at the silhouette for starters, right? Look at the silhouette, right? Now the finger is going to angle down. Everything, the thumb is going to go in the opposite angle of the finger. How many of you, type in the chat right now if already, before I've even drawn it in, can you see a difference? Can you see way more life? Can you see way more drawing skill and things that are being used here? Look at how we're balancing it all in back to the thing. So let's just look at this pose, right? Before I even draw it in, I just want you to tell me in the chat if you can't see it, or if you can see it. Can you see a difference already in the drawing level, in the level of complexity in the drawing, the level of appeal, and the stuff I've been talking about in the cartoon aspect of things? Okay, I'm going to continue to draw. I've asked because I want my audience to interact with me a little bit here. Right, now let us go. Yeah, huge difference, exactly. Let us now go and talk about the face, right? So this is the same thing which I primed you a little bit with the Mickey Mouse, right? We've got the eye line here, and it's the same stuff. The eyes, you know, are going to sit just like those things, but we're going to have separate eyes, right? And the mouth, look how exaggerated the mouth is, right? And as I said, the head is pointing up, but it's almost the body's leaning down like that. So look at the intelligence. We've got force of direction here, but we have angle of head going up here like that. Just beautiful, right? So let's go in here and let's talk about the eyes now, right? Now I've just drawn one eye, right? I've just drawn one eye. Can you just honestly tell me, like, is this one eye got way more life and expression in it than any of the eyes that you saw me previously draw, right? Even of the Gendy Tartakovsky one, which people I know have a soft spot for, right? So we have this eye here like this, right? Now, strange as though that may seem, it actually takes real drawing skill to even draw eyes like that. You see, the difference with the other one was, okay, let me not be so flat, is you could have this, right? And then it's the shapes that make it interesting, right? It's the shapes that make it interesting. But there's not so much you can do. You can change it this way, but there's not so much you can do with that eye, right? Because it's all about the design and the shape and the graphicness of it. Now one could argue, yeah, well, that's good. Picasso, Cubism, real art, get away from all that flamboyant, stuff. Sure. But what about you? Can you draw in the first place? No, you can't. Okay. I'm talking to the wrong person. Right. So now we're going to put the nose. So we've got a little nose line here that really helps the character look angry. Just look at the screen for a minute now and tell me that just in this portion here you can't see real expression, real emotion, right? You know? And this is not even of an A-grade animation movie. And I'm gonna come out right here and say this is better than Jesper from Klaus, in my opinion, right? It's just full of more expression and life. It's got, to my taste, it really helps the person who draws draw. The design style in Klaus is drawn by people who really know what they're doing. I mean, Sandro Cluso, one of the best. But as is the guy who designed it, Sergio Pablos. But the style lends itself to this modern symbol stuff, which limits the draftsman, in my opinion. Right, so now we've got look how the angle of the cheek is affected by the line, by the expression, right? Real law of squash and stretch in the face there. Now we've got this amazing hairstyle, right? So we're going to come down off hair like that. Now we're going to go in the middle like this, but then we're going to complement that by dividing it and putting a few other lines in there. Already you see so much softness, so much texture to the character's hair. We're going to come up, right, this way, and actually it curls a little towards the direction, right? And then we're going to come off. Oopsie, I'm going to come out just a little bit. We're going to come around here like that. You see that? You see just how these just choice lines are just really giving this thing so much personality, so much expression, so much appeal going on in there. And you've also noticed that I may be damn fast with my drawing and I'm not really being pushed doing this, but you've noticed that I'm being a little bit more cautious about my shapes, because that's cautious about my line, right? That's because it actually takes skill to, if you put one line out of place, your drawing's going to be imbalanced. Now look at the ingenious of this. This is just a circle, but look how they hide it, right? This is the right way to hide a circle, right? You got this going in here, right? And then you got this one going out there. You're saying, well, that's still a circle, but then you're going to dress it up with a little bit of the top of the hair, and then we're going to keep that line going. So look at the flow of the hair, right? It's just going to come on here like that. And then we've got such a nice, beautiful ponytail. I mean, you're telling me that this isn't good. If you're liking this stream, by the way, like, share, subscribe, spread the word, get the message out there, get the world good at drawing again, cartoon drawing, get hand-drawn animators armed with the right tools. Also, you can go to my website and you can donate to me there, or you can buy some of my courses if you're interested in any of that, and that's another way of supporting me. So thank you very much. So this comes around like that. So look how the shoulder is again. Now we're not just drawing like I'm gonna do like a rigid construction of this and show you why this drawing is so much more than rigid cheap construction, right? So let me just draw this in to illustrate. So here we've got now look what he's doing with the fingers. He's angling this little pinky forward. It's not a pinky, the index finger forward like that. And now we're going to angle the other two up the other way like that, just to really get the expression in the character that the character is, Little Miss Bossy Boots. Absolutely adorable, this drawing. Now look how this line is a sweeping shape like this, and then we balance it with the finger pointing to counter it like that. And we're going to come in the other way and we're going to counter it, further beautify it with the thumb. Look at that, right? These are the things that I'm talking about in this stream, which is different to when Michael Gilner-Davies watching the streams where I'm just talking about basic how to see the shapes, right? I'm talking about subtleties here, nuances that really you need to, it doesn't even matter if you can draw or not at this stage, but I want you, everything is about building brain cells. I want you to train your brain to understand these nuances. Now look at the drapery here. This is just so cool. We're going to come down like this. We're going to come up at the midsection, but then we're going to come around like this, and we're going to create this nice little bit of drapery, which is going to come off the character like that. And then she's got a little kind of scarf thing coming off her like that. Then here is the midsection, which comes here like this. Even the little kind of curl here, like giving her a bit of a belly, you know. It's really, you know, it isn't just graphic shapes like that. It's really informed drawing, right? You heard me saying uninformed, right? This is what we call informed drawing, right? We're informing people of the various parts of the character, be it body parts or clothing. Like this skirt has got, you know, a ruffle on it. So we're informing the eye of what that is representing, right? That's representing the drapery, the cloth, all that kind of stuff, right? Then we've got the amazing anatomical aspect here. So we come down and we bulge out for the calf, then we contrast that with the middle leg like that, and this out here like this. We're going to come in here and bring that in a little bit, right, from my original silhouette. Now we're angling that out, bending at the knee. Look at that. Is that not right? Do we not, right, without me even explaining, right, which I need to explain to help you get better at drawing, but can we not see an apparent difference to the stuff that I was talking about at the beginning, right? And while I have slowed down a little bit, it hasn't taken me that long to draw this almost perfectly, right? So you can see that getting your drawing to a level is extremely important. But these characters are all designed to be drawn fast and, you know, appealing. But the new stuff is just designed to be manipulated by software shapes, right? Which is why it is so so poor in that regard. Let me inverse this. Storyboard, flip, selected scene. Yep, that's almost good. Right, so we have this. So immediately, right, I talked about how the character's leaning forward. It's pointing like this. So the head is echoing that, right? The eye line is pointing this way, but the head is coming down like this, right? The body is all leaning this way, but it's leaning up, right? The hips then are counterbalancing the character so nicely here, right? Right? And then we have them all coming along this center line here, so the character is balanced. So that's where you can see the appealing quality of it. Now, it's not simply a case of just drawing a bean. Well, it is, depending on how good you are, right? But let's approach this the mechanical way and tell you why it's not good enough, right? So you can come here and you can draw this, and then you can put a ball here like this, and you can put a ball for the head here like this, and then you can put the arm here like this, and the other arm hair like this, and then the two legs together like that, right? So let's say that I said to, I'm not going to use any of your names, or if Mr. Leon doesn't mind, Mr. Leon, okay, for those of you who don't know, and yes, I like to use Mr. Leon viewership and subscription to my channel to help illustrate my point to you guys and to help make you aware and of just how good my training is. Mr. Leon currently has worked for the Walt Disney Company on one of their most current cutout suites. Is it Sophie and the Dragon, Mr. Leon? I don't know. He's also worked on Ninja Turtles. He's also worked on a lot of these things. Now, why he watches my stuff is he wants to draw and animate properly. Take that in. Take that, Mr. Leon, in the chat. If I'm talking crap, if I'm using your name for personal gain and to just make shit up, tell me now, correct me now, right? So I'm telling you this. Why I'm telling you this? Because I'm going to use his example. I could give this drawing to somebody who was trained in hand-drawn animation the way I was trained and say, right, finish it for me. Finish it for me, right? And I would get something like that back. Maybe not as good as that, but something like that back. I could give this drawing to somebody like Mr. Leon, a pro in the industry today, and I could tell them, finish it for me. And they would do their best, but they would not have these little nuances of things, and they would start to divide the thing, treat this like a paste on, right? Let me be a little bit slower, let me be fair, right? So they would probably try to treat this like a paste on head, right? Like that. They would then put it in the middle there like that, right? Then they would have their eyebrows and their eyes, they maybe do like this, right? The way we were trying to do the DuckTales eyes, right? Then they would have their face. Then they would have their graphic mouth shape, right? They would put a few little maybe eyebrows on there like that. Then they would have the kind of cut out kind of hair like that, right? That kind of graphic stuff that we were all talking about earlier. Then they would have the body, which is going to be difficult for me to kind of do badly because of the stuff I know, but they would let's say they just treat the body like a little kind of bean like this, right? Then they would put a circle here. Then they would have the legs, right? So their legs would be divided at the middle, right? So let's say they would divide, let's say they try to put a little bit of anatomy in the leg, right? Like that. Then they would have the feet as kind of more triangular like that. And then they would put shoulders there. They would maybe then really kind of square that. And then they wouldn't have this nice effect here. They would just have that angling up, if anything, and that angling down. Then this would be a graphic shape. These would be graphic shapes. And it would be more something like that. Right? It would be more something like that. And that's where we are today. We are at the point where, I'm sorry to say, very few people know how to draw cartoons well in the professional industry today. Many years ago, when I started this AMB Animation Real Animator training, I think 5 years ago, my aim was to have self-taught people on the internet out drawing and out animating people in the industry. We've now got to that level. There's people like Live Fantasy in the chat who I'm going to do more drawing for you, but I'm just going to show you. So if you go to my Real Animator training page and you say join now, I've got a video here. And this video shows you some of the people, like for example, this is Travis, who animated his own film after 3 years of Real Animator training stuff. So he still needs to improve his drawing a lot, but we're now having people doing industry stuff, right? So he's got his stuff going on here like this. Now I'm going to look for Life Fantasies work, right? So this is a personal dialogue test of Life Fantasy, who's in the chat as well, and who I'm going to personally employ to clean up some of my animation. So this is her work, right? Her own personal work, right? Not a study, right? That's her own personal work. And this is her study, right? Material. Let's just keep skipping forward. Here we are, right? And this is going to be the last one I show you before we look at somebody else's drawing, right? Come on, play for me, please. You can already see from the it's on pause. I don't know why it's not quite playing. Okay, there we go. That's her own personal work. So this person's in the chat right now. So go follow them on YouTube and go make friends with them online, right? They'll be a very good peer group for you to have, right? We also have other people in here. I guess there's one more, which is Amberly, who's been to Bluth as well as my place. So she's working more on, she needs a little bit of loosening up, and she has since, but this is her stuff. So this is a little, I mean, I'll talk about Real Animator training at the end. You can, if you want to sign up, and go and sign up. But this is a little example of where we are now. And I showed that to you to exemplify to you that that could also be you, right? You don't have to be in the industry. We've got people from the industry coming here to get this back. Well, they never had it in the first place, but to get back to the level of when that study helped me greatly. Yeah, that's why I encourage breakdowns, animation breakdowns, to people who have completed library training, more so to the people who are still doing the library training, because you need to know what to look for. But I encourage animation breakdowns. All right, so now let's do another drawing from the Chipmunks movie. I'm very proud of many people in the library, and Life Fantasy is one of them. I've been wanting to give her some work for a long time, and that time is coming close. I just need to get moving with this thing. All right. This is another drawing, and I did this drawing for the thumbnail because I think it's the perfect example. We're going to be looking at a profile. We're going to be looking at a profile view. And I can't believe how good this profile is. And we're going to look at it together, right? So I just scribbled it out for the thumbnail, and I'm going to scribble it out again for your benefit. So we've got again the head shape, which is something like this. Now it's all straight along the back, and there's just so much character, right? So we're going to come straight down. Notice, see, for me, the silhouette is always where it's at, because that's where the personality really is. Like, man, this, and you can see the two different types of girls that, you know, that they are. They're not like, you could look at a new show and like the bodies are interchangeable, right? But the body proportions, the shape language, the, you know, illustrates so much more about the personalities of we used to say about these characters, how do they dress? When you say how do they dress, it's not just like their fashion sense. It's like the way, are the clothes oversized? Do they fit them right? So even now, right, with this rough drawing, tell me if you don't see it, right? I want you to go back in your mind to those drawings we did at the beginning from those other awful examples I showed you, and tell me that you don't see, even now with these few marks that I've made, that you don't see so much more personality and so much more life in just this side pose of the character, right? How are we doing for time? We are only 1 hour 15 in. We've done a lot of drawing today, right? So let's go ahead and do this, right? So, and then they like to use the bad drawings to say adult animation, like BoJack Horseman or whatever, and Family Guy, right? Adult. This is adult, so it looks bad. It's that whole Emperor's New Clothes thing of, oh, it's bad quality on purpose, folks, because it's intelligent. It's for grown-ups, Well, the kids stuff is way more sophisticated as far as I'm concerned, because that drawing kicks ass, right? Are you a creator or are you a consumer? What are you interested in doing? Right, I'm gonna go in first. I'm just roughing out this expression because it's so full of character that I don't want to get it wrong, right? And then we're gonna put the hairstyle, right? They both got similar hairstyles, but again, they're both so different because of their personalities, right? They both got virtually the same hairstyle, right? But their personalities are changing or making them look different, right? How many times have you seen an anime even where the characters all have the same hairstyle, right? And the hairstyle makes it an interesting drawing, but when you get to a higher level, just never forget what the real animation is about, right? Real animation is not about the illusion of movement, which is what animation today is, right? Particularly 2D animation. Real animation is about the illusion of life, right? The 12 laws of animation that create this illusion of life. I'm just mapping this out, and then we're gonna, as I consolidate it, I'm gonna talk to you about the line choices and the shapes, right? So just bear with me for a minute while I just map this drawing out, right? Oopsie, this is a pure straight line like that, right? You had Life Fantasy talking to you about curves and straights, right? So just look at the frumpiness and the texture of the jumper, right? So we looked at that god-awful example from the modern reboot of Disney's DuckTales, where I was talking about how they were trying to create a little bit of softness in the hoodie, and failing miserably at that. But the duck feathers of the character were like non-existent in their softness. Now I love this. I'm going to talk a little bit about this skirt as I draw it in and explain it to you, right? I'm just mapping that in. Getting these things in the right place is the challenge, and then we're going to talk about each and every part as I consolidate it over for you. But we can really see, the personality, even in the shoes, just absolutely stunning stuff. And just how the distribution of weight on the other leg and the sock, the bending of that leg really comes in there to create something really, really nice, right? We've just got one hand left, so she's pushing her glasses, so the finger is bent, right, like that. Then we have again, it's not just a simple case of a square for the hands, right? You remember the way I was doing the hands on that awful gravity thing character that just, you know, just had a massive, you know, block for its hair, right? This thing is just way more sophisticated than that. So then we come in here, and my sleeve of my jumper is slightly out in my silhouette. So we have this coming here like that. Right, great. So can we just look, before I consolidate that, just look at that drawing. I haven't even consolidated it, but can you just see how the personality, have you seen 101 Dalmatian Street? Well, I'll take your word for it. Red Fox, Benetton. We got another red fox here. Red fox. Whoa, red fox. We got two red foxes now. I'll take your word for it. Right, let's go on. Let's go in here and consolidate this drawing now. I'm going to keep it rough. So from the side view, we have a clear difference in eye shape, right? And look at the way the pupil, or the eyeball, before we talk about the pupil, has its own kind of long squash and stretch to it, right? So that shows, just look at that eye, right? Maybe it's just me, but look at the personality you can see, and that's a profile side view eye, right? You can see the personality in that drawing like nobody's business, right? Then here we've got a kind of shape for the glasses like that. Then the mouth from the side just continues to drip down and comes under the chin like that. A little bit too close, right? We don't need to be so close. Now, the hair is the same hairstyle as this girl hair, right? But it's so much more unkempt, right? Like she couldn't care less, right, about her, how groomed she was, right? It's just absolutely great, right? So this, some people could call stereotypical design, but I'll take it. I like it. You know, I'm guessing she's a brain box, and she doesn't care so much about the other aspects. She feels alive. When I look at that side view as I'm talking, it feels like somebody I know, right? Just absolutely fantastic. And that's what the power of this stuff, these drawings, are all about. Now we've got a lot more lines, right, to represent the hair, and a one going in the opposite direction to give it that feel. So you see, just by the way we make our line choices on the hair says something about the personality and the character of what it is we're drawing. You know, she's got, I think, a ribbon in her hair. I don't know what this is. There's something coming down. I can't quite make out in lines. So there's a bow at the back of the hair like that. Again, here we've got the circle at the top, and we're going to dress that circle up with these kind of things here like that. So you can really see some rock solid personality even in the angle of the head. So again, here we've got the head, and the finger is pushing against the head, pointing up. So we've got this intelligent directional change, and this part, this little dink in the head here, also helps us see that, right? So that's extremely important stuff, right? Then we've also got this girl happening here like this. Look how we're creating the folds in the roll neck. So she's got a roll neck. Now I'm going to illustrate this with my roll neck, right? So you can see with my personality I've done that, right? But she has just kept it like that and is bending in it, right? And isn't that great? Through the drawing and the personality of the character, we're able to see this, give away little aspects of the nature of how they are as people, right? So again, this loose top, baggy, right? Now this is great. They've got it coming in here, but then coming out there, and it comes. The sleeves are like, just like in Bluth's Fievel, they're coming over the character's hand, right? Which means that she's wearing baggy clothes. She doesn't really care. And look how this curls this way, right? And it droops down like that, right? And then this goes like that. So you see, in the world of social media where everybody follows the digital painter, right? The digital painter is going to knows a few digital painting tricks, and I'm not saying they're completely talentless and void of skill and ability. They can certainly paint better than me, right? But the thing is it good enough to survive AI art, right? Because once AI learns those tools, that's it, right? AI art will create, because the thing that puts this line drawing to life, we looked at line drawings created for software, right? Which is what AI art can do just as well as any human being, if not better, which is why, a lot of those people aren't going to be in work for much longer, in my opinion. I don't care about, again, we're talking about the artistry, so I'm not trying to scare you and throw in a subconscious mind trick to say, oh well, you're not going to have jobs soon in that kind of animation. I don't care. Like, people who draw sometimes struggle to get jobs anyway. This is about passion. Some people, like I often say to people, why learn martial arts or archery if you've got guns, right? Why learn sword? Why learn kendo? What's the point? Because you're passionate, you like it, right? People like to draw, people like to get good at drawing, people like to create stories. Human beings don't just exist to pay the government tax and have a job, right? Human beings have passions, interests, and they like to feel good about the skills that they've developed. So this is much deeper than just having a job, right? This is about feeling relevant. This is about developing your passion, developing your skill, feeling better about yourself, and getting to a level of drawing which is pure you, right? That's what hand-drawn real animation is about. That's why I'm doing this video, to help you find yourself when it comes to drawing, and to make you aware of things that you're perhaps not aware of, that I'm not just down talking, trash talking stuff just to poo-poo on it, or because I'm a bitter old man. I've got nothing to be bitter about. I can draw like this. So the fact of the matter is I want to help people. I want to help you, those of you who want to do this properly, right? So you've got to open your eyes to why it's so bad. Now let's look at this skirt. This skirt is essentially you could do that, but look how they're creating, like using graphic shapes to create the texture of the folds of it's just so nice, right? And then we're coming with a curve along here, curving that way. We're having something like that. Now the little nice, just like we did with her leg, right? Balancing this line against this straight, right? To create that effect. Graphic shapes are good. I draw with graphic shapes with my own characters. I like harsh triangular shapes myself, but there's something to be said about this. I believe Glenn Keane got it from John Lounsbury. I feel John Lounsbury was his mentor. I could be wrong on that, so do some research, but he has this very kind of old school way of having rounded curves and straights, which have a lot more softness, sweetness and charm to them, which aren't so harsh, right? So but even if you want to do like the harsh curves and straights, then you gotta, you know, like Milk Call or whatever, or Bluth, then you've got to have an understanding of these anatomical things that I'm telling you guys about, right? That doesn't quite work as a thumbnail because she's not looking at her. If I remember, she's taller than her. But let's make a fun little... she still needs to... I'm being silly here. I'm trying to make the thumbnail, right? So I think she still needs to be a little bit bigger. All right. Next to her there. I'm not going to fart around. I'm going to do one more drawing for you anyway. So I'm trying to to feed two birds with one hand. As somebody helped me with that on the stream, because why should you want to kill anything, right? Have a nice thumbnail for the video when we're finished. Charlene Giles. Charlene, thank you again. It's so sweet of you for your donations. I can't stress enough how grateful I am of them. You know, it's just very heartwarming to know that some people out there really appreciate what I do enough to give me a donation. So that's really appreciated. All right, now 1 hour 31. We're going to look at some more model sheets. So who else can we look at? What else? We've done two cute kids, females. So let's look for something male. Oh, I love this guy, Monterey Jack from Chippendale Rescue Rangers. Again, we're talking a TV animated character, but it has so much more expression and life into it. Let's do one of his poses. Okay, which one? That's a fun one. They're both fun. We might want to do them both. Akal the Warrior is online. Bum bum bum. Mr. Leon says, "Hey AMB, I just arrived at your calling. It's called Moon Girl and the Devil Dinosaur." So that's what Mr. Leon has worked on, people. Moon Girl and the Devil Dinosaur. Hell no, I would not be able to draw like that easily. I would not heavily use bad. I would heavily use bad habits like onion skin, lasso tool, Control Z. So there you have it. Somebody from the industry who's kind enough to actually admit and reveal his drawbacks to help you all move forward and to kind of help back up what I'm trying to help you guys understand here. I would heavily use straights, curves, and definitely would need help from a library of hands. So he would need to take the library of pre-existing hands and use that. So he's effectively a human AI artist, because what does an AI art do? It uses a library of, billions of images and things to create the one image you've typed in. And so Mr. Leon wants to be a lot more than that. So he's trying to better himself by learning real drawing skills and stuff like that. So once again, Mr. Leon, thank you for being a shining example in the chat, because if they just hear me say it, it's like, oh well, he's good at drawing, he's just old, he prefers things that when he was, they like to say okay boomer or whatever. I'll take that, by the way. I'm happy to be a boomer. And they just try to just carry on in their own, enjoying what they want to enjoy. Nobody's telling you not to enjoy it, but here we have somebody from the industry kind of reinforcing the things that I'm telling you guys. Thank you so much, Charlene. Again, it's never taken lightly when somebody donates to me. I really appreciate that. Right, let's draw Monterey Jack from Chippendale Rescue Rangers. So this character is arguably, you know, more graphic, and you know, he's in a huge big shape. So let's approach this in a big shape way, but we can also see a change in shape direction here. So here, you know, a lot of things that were in the DuckTales example and the earlier examples of the very weak modern industry way of drawing that I showed you are here in this example here. But we're going to show you how somebody who can draw takes those concepts of balancing everything within a simple shape, right, and brings so much life to it, right? So everything kind of lines up along here like this, right? And we're just gonna see just how this stuff is immediately made so much more appealing by the power of understanding how to draw properly, right? So then again, his head is gonna come here like this. This is gonna circle around here. You see how I'm trying to balance everything within the shape, right? And his eyes meet at the middle like this. His nose here like that. Now his mouth comes out here, right? So this is pure cartoon drawing, right? This is a lot. I don't know how his head works actually. He's got, the line is a little bit broken up, so I'm gonna have to guess that. And then he's got glasses on top of his hat like that. And then we're going to come around for the collar like this. Now again, right, I've just got a few lines here, but I'm going to do the same thing with you guys. Can you see already, without it drawn in, just how much more personality and life the pose has, even though it is less informed, right? This was done by people like Glenn Keane, right? I don't know who did this, but somebody who works as a TV model artist, right? But it's still extremely strong, right? It's TV grade stuff, but very, very strong. And I've always maintained that although the animation in these 90s cartoons was extremely poor because it was farmed out, the character designs are top notch, right? Amazing quality, right? So before I go in and draw the guy on top of that, I'm just going to put it again to you guys in the chat. Can you not see the personality and life in something that's just a block, right? It's just essentially a block going this way, right? Can you not see the personality and life? So again, they framed like you've like got the arms are flowing, right? Like this, right? So we've got all those kind of things those little kind of secrets that I talked to you about. But let's go in and then let's start looking at the characters, facial features and things. So again, here we've got the eyes, which meet in the middle. So these eyes are so cartoony, right, that they're almost joined together, right? So these are extremely cartoony eyes, but then just see how much expression and life we've got in that, right? And the nose is just a circle. Like, how basic can you get, right? I use the word basic for the other stuff. This is very, very basic. Now, but why is this good, right? And why is that not good? Because this person actually knows how to dress a circle up. I mean, just look at the new Mickey Mouse, right? In fact, I'm going to do that. How to dress a circle up. We're going to look at the new Mickey Mouse and then look at the old proper one, right? They literally, one is drawn with the mindset of, oh, let's separate these into body parts in a library and have the computer just shift them around for us to the weak pose that we put them in, right? And the other is like done by somebody who's repeatedly drawing that circle to convey an emotion, right? So we have this here for the head. So literally his mouth is just a circle, his nose is just a circle, his eyes are extremely basic, yet we have a really appealing cartoon character out of it, right? Because it's been drawn, right? With these shapes have been intelligently placed to express an emotion, right? They haven't been like, I want to draw it so it looks like in the style, and it's constantly to model. That's what these software things are, to economize, have everything, because cleanup always costed a lot of money because it took time to do. You had to hire more people to do it because cleaning, you know, I'm not really cleaning my animation up, but it's virtually clean because I don't want I'm going to give it to Life Fantasy to clean, and there are things that need to be done, fixed, but I want it to a virtual clean standard so we avoid the errors, and plus it's for a course and you need to see it moving. But like, so it's taking me so long to clean that guy up on my own, right? Now this again is where the hand thing of this hand starts, right? Even though it's like I said that we're going to be like that, because the head is involved, we're taking his collar and we're framing it like that, right? So you see the intelligence of balancing these shapes, right? Then we're going to have this coming straight in here like that, and then, oh, he's got a cool little, again, it's just like he's got this kind of, he's got a rolled turtleneck too. I think it's the sign of getting old, right? So I'm getting old, so I got a turtleneck, right? There we go. So then we have this sleeve elbow, which doesn't have the elbow joint, right? It's literally just that. Yet it feels, just by proportioning this straight hair and having this curved hair, it feels like he's got an elbow in there, right? That's so cool. This is a little bit thinner. I'm going to bring that in like that. Then this hand comes out and in, right? Keeping the swerve going, but they don't have it. They have the sleeve there to break it up. Then they have this mini hand coming here like that. Mini hand, pinky, right? I just heard my daughter talking to my cat outside. Distracted me for a second, right? Then we have the sleeve coming around here like this, coming in. Now we're going to bunch all this stuff up with one triangle, which we're going to divide into two like that. Then we're going to create some lines inside like that, and we're rolling the sleeve up, right? You see how much appeal is in this drawing, right? Then we're going to angle the wrist so the elbow just comes in, and we're going to keep that simple hand shape like that. Now here again we use triangles of the center line, exactly the same things, right? That because the sensibilities have not been lost in the new stuff, but the artistry and craftsmanship has, right? So the people doing the designs understand these things, but they can't necessarily execute these things to level, right? Which is why their drawings are so poor. Right? So this comes down like that. So there we have. Now the sweater goes even higher, which really helps but create the sense of dimension and illusion within the flat shape, right? Everything is a flat shape, and that creates the way you create the sense of illusion is how you fill in the lines of the flat shape. Okay, so I'm going to show you with one of my own designs in a second, right, about the flat shape, because there's nothing I know better than my own work, right? So that is the Monterey Jack, right? So again, we have essentially just a big square here cut off at the waists, right? So almost 2 squares here and a swirl, right? That is the character. Now, many times when we do gesture drawing, or character drawing, we do drawings like this, and we do these drawings. And again, I could give this drawing to Mr. Leon, and I'll say make a character out of it, right? But then you need to have the understanding and the know-how. So I could create a shape like this, right? I could have a shape like this, and then I could say, okay, make something out of that, right? Make something out of that. Obviously we've got a woman with a hand on her hips, right? I could have this going this way, so this is the triangle, right? Then this is the block, and this is this, right? Now, picking up on the whole Glen Keane aerial model that we looked at the other day, right? I could come in here, and Ariel's proportions are not that big, so I'll have to hang on. I'll have to make her head bigger, because I just thought, why don't we just use that as an example, right? So picking up on the whole Glen Keane aerial thing we had the other day, right? We could turn that into aerial, right? But then what do you know about the human body to convey that, right? So we have the diamond here and the other diamond here like this. So this would be the straight, right? That would be like this. Then we would have, this would have to come in, right? So again, it's all right. That would come in here like this. So then this would come lower. The fins would be to this side. So the nose up here, right? The head, the hair, right? The side plane of the head that he likes to do. This here like this. And then you just keep pulling it in, pulling it into play, right? That's how you have the character. Let's erase that so we can see where we're going with that, right? Put that little pinky up there. Let's have that come here like this. A triangle there like that. So you see, that wasn't the example that I was going to give you. But you see, the example I was going to give you about flat shapes, like this character that I'm animating at the moment, my own character, right? It's got the same design sensibilities as the cutout thing, like that's his head. It's a flat shape, right? It's a flat shape. But I'm going to go in here with all the nuances, right? And I'm going to start making that flat shape, dressing it up with dimension, right? Alright, so then suddenly we're going to take this shape around here, and then we're going to change the angle. So this flat shape is now a 3/4 head view, right? Now we're going to look at the ear like this, but we're going to cut into that ear, and we're going to create some dimension. You can even put a few bits of fur out on the side of the ear, right? So the whole illusion, right, of dimension comes from how you create the shapes within that flat shape, right? So then more stripe here like this. So again, here I want to draw him with his arms folded, right? So I'm just going to create a square like this, and then I'm going to do something like that, right? Create a square like that. But then he's got a cape, right? So I'm going to know that that cape has got to be ruffled and folded on this side, right? Like that. Then he's got a bit of a sleeve with a tear in it, right? So this hand is going to come in. We're going to dress up the fingers on here. We're going to dress that up, right? Now he's got this sleeve is bent, so we're dressing up the silhouette, right? Let's just keep going with this, right? So this is this way. Let's have his hip this way, right? So his leg is gonna be out. You see this curving that, right? But then he's got this. You see how instinctively I'm dressing the dimension of the shape up, like that. No, don't delete your comment, Juan Camilo. Don't delete it. You know, don't be afraid if you're going to make a statement. I saw it. Everybody saw it, what you were trying to do. So this comes here like that. Right. So very quick example of intelligently dressing up shapes and not just creating these characters, right, with pasted in, you know, something that a child of 5 could successfully I'm just going from memory of this awful thing that somebody asked me to draw, right? With the typical, everything has that hair, but it's how well you create that hair, right? So you see how deadpan this stuff is. And then they put they put a little bit of this bean to it, right? And then this gets a budget, greenlit, and gets made, right? Face palm. That's me face palming, right? Okay. I will never discard. I said to my daughter, there's only one of you. I said, like, when people look, I've got my own view on this, but take of it what you will. Like, just to touch on what Juan Camilo's saying, I won't watch these Disney remakes. It's like me saying, well, my wife is old. I want to trade her in for a younger, newer model. People say, you can't say it's a different thing. Well, how much do you love it? How much do you love the original? To me, there's only one Lady and the Tramp. We would not all be sitting here if it wasn't for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. People can say, well, this, that, the other, but that was the first feature-length movie. There was a lot riding on that. Walt put his own house up for losses if his vision wasn't realized. Because who would want to see a cartoon for over an hour at the film, was the argument at the cinemas. So, for me, there are only one of these things. And what makes it even more so is when we're talking in art. It's like, should we go into the Louvre gallery and put an AI impression of what Da Vinci would have painted for the Mona Lisa in this day and age? Which might look like some Lady Gaga or some, culturally relevant figure today. Here today, gone tomorrow kind of thing. Should that now be hanging in the Louvre? So why do we treat animation differently? And if you watch these remakes, now this is a bold statement, then you're part of the problem. That's the way I see it. So if you maybe have seen one of them here and there because you were curious, that's like somebody watching something on the net that's really taboo that they perhaps shouldn't be watching. That's how I personally liken watching these remakes of these old classic movies. So ultimately, do whatever you want, tackle it your own way. So there is no right and wrong to Juan Camilo's question. It's how you see it, how you live the life that you want to live, how you enjoy the things that you want to enjoy. That's my personal view on original intellectual property and revisions of them. Right, let us now look at another drawing. I'm going to do another Monterey Jack because he's so darn cool. Let's get back to what we were originally doing here. Let's draw him in this red. So this is a very generic pose, but I like it. So let's just stick with it. Okay, so I see a shape like this. Let's tackle the square shape, right? This comes in here like that. And then we have the head like this. Right, so already this is looking really good, but perhaps it's really vague for you to see, so I'm just gonna go in here and start mapping out a few things. And then again, you're gonna see this is like the version of that Huey, Dewey and Louie update that I drew. It's like the typical cartoon pose of a cartoon walk. So, but this is the right way to be generic, right? This is like so appealing. Like just by putting that hand there, you can probably see where this is going, right? Some of you, right? So we're going to go around here like this. We're going to come out like that. I'm going to come down here like this, right? And this comes out like that. With the belly is going to unify those. Now that's going to be more straight. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now in line with the back, we have the fist. Again, the generic fist shape. Right. So when I say generic, like, it might come off as I'm running it down, but it really is like generic, but it's super appealing, and it's why I'm doing this stream. It's like, this is not really getting into the personality and character so much as the chipmunks that we saw, right? Because this is just an appealing Disney TV character. Those were for a TV series, but that was a movie that had some of the best minded people in there doing it. But what I'm illustrating with this is this is cartooning of a C-grade project, not even a direct-to-video feature, but it is of such a high standard, right? That even when we're doing the generic stuff here like this, this drawing here, it's better than practically everything that is being put out in today's world of 2D software cutout design, character design and animation, because there is virtually no drawing sensibilities to it. It is just pure graphic design, then given to incompetent people labeled as animators and artists, who literally, you know, are, to my mind, completely unworthy of the title. But that's the title, and that's been the title for the past 20 years. So I'm wrong now, because being an animator today is, you know, very different from what it was to be an animator when I was working as a professional animator in the industry. You had to have strong drawing skills and fundamentals understanding of anatomy and life drawing, and all of this stuff about shape language, which I'm telling you about now. So then here we've got, now before I go and consolidate this drawing, right, I'm gonna just show it to you in its bare bones like this, so you can see even here. Can you see just how appealing again the drawing is? Let me just check how we're doing for time. We're 2 hours into the stream now, and he's got a tail in this one. Did he have a tail in the other one? No, the tail was left out, so he's got a tail, which gives him even more appeal. Right, just like that. Can we see just how, you know, again, look at that, right? Look at that. So the same stuff is there, and you need to be able to see this stuff, but it's just super, like, hopefully watching this stream will open your eyes the next time you look at a drawing. I had a very foolish comment on one of my videos, but again, the way YouTube's going, I can't blame the person, right? It's, you know, if YouTube wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't the way things are now, right? Ironically, TikTok now allows you to make long videos. Obviously, there's a reason for that, but YouTube is still living in the world where short videos are what they want to push forward and what they want to do. So I broken down a fight scene from Naruto, which some of you might remember, a very well animated and well designed fight scene. And I'll forgive some people in the comments for thinking I traced it, right? That's okay. I know a lot of kiddies watch it, and a lot of insecure people who want to do it watch it themselves. So they say, nice tracing, this and that. But somebody said, why? Why do that though? Why not animate your own fight scene? Well, I can animate my own fight scene, sure, but my channel is about educating people and helping people study on their own and learn. And I'm saying, here's how to study something that you guys like, your anime fight scenes. Here's how you learn from it. And here's the things to look out for. So watch me do it and then follow what I do and then get good. But this person is thinking that this 1 minute YouTube clip is, me trying to put forward, look, tracing other people's work and trying to say, look what I did. I'm always crediting the original thing that I'm studying. And you've just seen me constantly doing my own work anyway, right? I just showed you my tiger character that I do. The animation that we've done. I've got my little red on my channel, my own project. But these people, again, are the kind of people that you have got to be mindful of, because I was telling this to my daughter who's studying music, you're living in a great time where you don't need a middleman, but you're unfortunately living in a world of saturation. So you're going to get a lot of people using AI art to create images. You're going to get a lot of people saturating the internet with their images. And it's their right just as much as yours to do that, right? But then what you have to be aware of is that in all of the saturation, you're going to be, it's like somebody being, in a war, somebody in a war zone, one child crying for help, right? It's going to be very difficult to be heard or seen. And you've got to then understand why you're doing these things and focus on the real reason. Your love for drawing, your passion for your own art and your own projects. And that is what's going to make you stand the test of time, while all these people who have dabbled in AI don't get noticed and don't get the thousands or millions of followers or likes that they want. Then they move on and try something else at the push of a button, right? But then what you got to be is you got to be to standard. You got to be good at the things that you claim to love, right? So that's what my channel, my work is about. It's always about helping you get to the highest possible standard, right? So you can do yourself justice. And what's my hidden agenda? My hidden agenda is you save the craft of hand-drawn animation from a fate worse than death. Because it's never going to die, but what's worse than death is, what's currently happening at the Walt Disney Studios. It's like completely identity change, right? It's something that's not what it ever was. It's now no longer a quality animation studio producing the highest quality work. I've heard that even their CG is now being made fun of. I don't know because I don't watch their stuff. But in the reviews, people are saying that these remakes have really bad effects. So to me, CG always looks like bad effects. But that's neither here nor there. So what I'm saying is that you guys are going to save hand-drawn animation by learning it properly and doing it properly, right? So there's another example of the character. Now I went off tangent a little bit because there's only so much we can talk about the drawings of these guys, right? Do I have anything else that we can look at? Not really. I think that pretty much does it. Well, that's a pretty nice one here. Let's look at this. Let's look at Chip from Chip and Dale, the original, right? Show. Well, actually, the real Chip and Dale, animated by, back in the 40s and 50s, that would be even better than this. But I don't have the model sheet of that. So let's just have a look at the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers model sheet, which is very, very strong drawing as well. All right. So let's come here. Let's look at the shapes that we see in this guy, right? So we immediately have an angle shape pointing this way, right? Right. Then we're going to continue that angle out, and then it's going to marry up on itself, right, down to this shape, right, over here like this. So these are the two shapes. But then it's how we fill in the shape, right? So I'm going to fill in that shape with this curved line here, and then just almost along the third, right, I'm going to come in here, and we're going to create another almost kind of square within there like that, right? So then we're going to put another little square in there like that. So now, Michael Kilner Davis, if you're still watching, you can see why I teach like that, but when I was teaching you those hand-eye coordination things, the little nuances and things that I talked about are often missed because we're focusing purely on hand-eye. Now remember the way I teach the flour sack. I say have this and then have the arm and the leg like this, right? Charlene will like that, right? So that's how I teach the flour sack, right? And people say it looks more like a chicken. Now I'm going to leave that drawing there while I continue with this, right? So you can see where real animator training actually primes you to draw like this, right? So all in the while you're being taught to draw like this while doing the exercises. But I think some of you have it in you because you've done those exercises numerous times, but I don't think you've mentally made that connection, which is why you're still unfortunately struggling at getting nice cartoon drawings. So I'm making this stream to kind of illustrate to you a little bit, right? So here we have something like this, right, coming in here, and then he's got this awesome jacket, right, which comes here like that, with the other reverse bit there like that. So again, now what will really make this is the countering of the head, right? So his cheek comes out along the middle line here and it angles up, and we have this awesome nose, right? I love these characters, right? So the mouth opens out in this shape like this, right? And we've got another kind of shape. Actually, I've kind of not squashed and stretched that mouth enough, right? So it needs to be more like this, and I'll consolidate that later, right? So we've got a shape which is more like that. Then the eye is back here like this, right? And this comes in here with the hat coming over there like this, completely balancing the character like that. Right, so before we go in and draw and consolidate this drawing, I'll have to reconsolidate that mouth as I go over it. We can see again the posing, right? Very simple graphic shapes, but once again the personality, the life, the appeal, the contrast of the angles of those shapes in relation to each other, right? Let's go in here and let's draw this guy in. So we've got the eye, right? So the eye is set with the angle, right? So he's opening his mouth, so we've got a little bit. Now look how they bulge it, right? And then they have this eye looking right down at the bottom, right? So immediately there's so much information just in how the eye is drawn, right? Now we have this little dink here, right? So the muzzle then has the nose sitting on it like that, right? I'm going to come off there and we're going to angle that down. The straight line, just separate it in there like that. Now we're going to have the other mouth, the jaw opening up like that, right? And then he's got his teeth here, and then so you look at the squash and stretch in the mouth shape. We've got the tongue, the bottom teeth, then the other bit coming here like this, right? So let me tidy all that up from the existing one, right? So we can see how the appeal of that has come in there now. Then the cheek is in on this side. They actually haven't really drawn that in. Then here, you can see where the whole Mickey Mouse mentality of Mickey Mouse's design kind of evolved into these characters like Chip and Dale and the feature cartoons, right? So the back of it, back of the hat's there. Now we have this awesome line, right, which is then going to change direction, right? It's going to form the front of the hat as it bends down and the rim of the hat, right? So it's going to continue on to that side like that, right? So look how that one line indicates the bend and the change of the rim in the hat. Then we're going to angle that back. Another reason I'm doing the stream is I've just been cleaning up an in-betweening, and I need to do some nice loose drawing for myself, for my own sanity, because when you're cleaning up an in-betweening really close drawings, there's hardly any drawing involved, believe it or not, right? So you're just in-betweening lines, and I've got, you know, at least another 100 of those to do, right? So this is gonna turn here in like this. So I'm having a lot of fun today, right? This live stream is so much fun for me, just to share this stuff with you as I just loosen myself up. Sometimes I like to do that, right? If you draw your own stuff all the time, that's good, but you can always pick up new shapes, and you can always learn something from drawing other things. I learned today from drawing the modern stuff that it was even more pathetic than what I had originally thought. Sorry, I couldn't resist by taking that little jibe, but these stuff like this also revises your shape language, because when you get into doing your own thing, you develop your own unique language, which is good. But just like any person, you expand your vocabulary range, you expand your intellect by reading more, right? So this is my version of reading, which is studying, right? Studying things that are now considered irrelevant and forgotten and not even worth talking about today. Isn't that a shame? Because that's the stuff where you're really going to see and learn the truth of what the real high quality and cartoon drawing is, which you don't get in this day and age anymore. So again, it's my job to help you people understand that. Right, let's just do that. Okay, so there we are. That is the chip, and just look at the whole flour sack thing that I have been, trying to drum into you guys. Whether it's so we start with a shape like this, and then we have something like this, but then you can have the arm and the leg on this side, and the leg and the arm on that side, and then you can start to create, right, your flour sack like that, right? So you see, I've been teaching you this stuff in Real Animator training since the intermediate archive. It's all there for you to learn. So if some of you are considering revisiting those exercises, don't just copy them to learn the animation now. Revisit them, and if you want to, try and improve on my flour sack, because I've done it in a very basic manner for you to learn it. But this is taking it to the super high level stuff. Now we're just going to do one more. What is it? 2 hours 21 minutes. So let's do his friend. Let's do Dale. That's the run is nice. The run is nice, but it's too much like the flour sack I showed you. This is a very almost static pose, but it's fun. So again, it's even in drawing the faces of these characters that just have so much. So again, what have we got here? We say, so Mr. Leon, when I like to say I would give this to Mr. Leon and say finish it, essentially this is when you look and they say, oh, learn how to animate a flour sack, and then people, cynics who look at what I'm doing with Real Animator training, say, oh, you're just giving them a chicken with, is it a person or is it a chicken? It's not really a flour sack. The thing is, somebody from the industry would not be able to finish this flour sack drawing in this day and age today, right? So I need to show them the how and the why, right? There's no point in training people in a way where people don't work this way anymore, right? People don't work this way anymore. So we have to peel back the layer of the onion further to understand where it's all going. So now here we've got his eyes. He's more than 1 eye width apart. I wouldn't say he's 2, I'd say he's 1.5 eye width apart. And he's got a much bigger nose, right? And he's got this dumbfounded. He's always seemed like he's a little bit dim-witted, and he, even in the previous originals, he wasn't so dim-witted as they've made him in this series. I have to say, I'm not a fan. It should have been such a great show. I mean, these designs, the potential, action and adventure, just poor, badly written people thinking they're comedy writers writing this awful show. Missed opportunity. I hated it even when I was a kid. I loved Gummy Bears. I loved DuckTales. I loved Tailspin. But this was just awful. This should have been the best because of the characters like Gadget, Monterey Jack, Chip in his Indiana Jones hat. Just adventures like The Rescuers or Basil the Great Detective should have been so good, but it was just It was just such a boring, unfunny. It didn't have enough action, and the jokes were that typical 90s, like, who are you writing these for? You're writing them for yourself. It's just, anyway. Right, so that could just be the European in me. I was born and raised in the United Kingdom, and I've found that for many years, Disney had a fascination for England and European folklores and European folktales. And over the years, even in the 90s, American entertainment started to get more American. Now, of course, it should be, because it's for American people, but that's like India and Bollywood, like, if you're an Indian and I've got Indian blood in me too, and you understand Bollywood, great, you're going to love those things, but the rest of the world struggle a little bit with understanding it. And I find American entertainment's becoming very insular in that regard. So maybe this was the birth of it, where I just find I'm a lot more European than I thought I was. I used to love American entertainment. I used to think it was the best. I wanted to live in the USA. I wanted to work for Disney. It was just the best stuff ever for me now. But I guess the way the film industry, the way streaming media is now, the way everything is now, I found out that I'm a lot more European than I thought I was. And after my move to New Zealand, that also made me realize just how European I am. I guess if people wouldn't really look at me and regard me as such, and that's completely understandable, but I was born and raised in England, and English is the only language I can speak. Right. So I'm gonna talk about this drawing after I've mapped it out. Right. It's turning into, like, I think this will be the last drawing, because it's turning into like a fun hangout session now. I just wanted to draw Dale because I drew Chip, and it's nice. So here we've got again, I want you to look at the drawing. Is the the live is going to be saved. Don't worry. This is my gift to my YouTube people, to show you that I'm still alive and well. I'm still creating content. There's going to be a ton more live streams from me once I finish In-Betweening, the great one, and I start building the Pro Archive again. I can't continue until that In-Betweening is done. So it's just one heck of a long slog. Right. So just have a look at this rough example again, and can we see just how much life is in that? Now I want you to imagine, now I'm talking on a live stream, I'm copying, I'm not drawing from my head, so I'm a little bit slower, but even that was fast. I want you to imagine animating a scene like this. You see, that's how we used to work. Our drawings were full of life. It wasn't a challenge to draw, and we animated full of life. And that's how the rough, if you look at the rough line tests, that's how they all looked. But the way people draw now, and the way I'm showing you how your generation perhaps has had 20 odd years of this stuff being, suffocating you, so you think that that's the way you draw cartoons. I'm here to remind you, because sometimes I talk and people think I'm being mean, and then I realize, the 90s was a long time ago. And like, I wasn't even in my 20s in the 90s. So I'm in my mid-40s now. It feels like yesterday, but actually it was a long time ago, and you guys don't know what I'm talking about, and you just think I'm a miserable old sod who's rubbishing all the things you like. Hopefully today's stream has illustrated to you what I mean and why I say the things I say. Right. Let's have the eyes. Right. Now the eye comes up into the cheek. I'm going to have to rub out the eye line so you can see that. Right. That really, even without the pupil, right, that really gives a sense of character to his eye, right? And then we're going to hide the pupil up there. See that one eye? That one eye. I've only drawn one eye. You see how much personality it has in it, rather than that DuckTales thing where you just had like this and this, right? You just had this and this, and then they just do that with the eyebrow because everybody's a cynic in this day and age. But take away the eyebrow, what is that, right? Or the Gendy Tartakovsky thing, where you had this and this, right? How much can you really say with that, right? Even if you do that, it's just the eyebrow that does it all, right? I mean, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. It is. So this is real personality and character, and this is like a TV show, right? Again, so we have the round nose here like this, right? And we're going to come down, and he's got this line on top. You see, what an appealing drawing, right? Now you put the eyebrows, which sit on top of his eye patch, I guess, right? He doesn't really have much of an eyebrow, right? So again, that goes to the whole Mickey Mouse thing. Mickey Mouse in some iterations had eyebrows, but for the most part, you know, he never really had eyebrows. His face mask gave his expression, right? So you got his teeth here. Let's just clean that so that looks nice, right? It's coming off here like that. And we've got the cheek here like this. So again you see that same typical hairstyle, what they just used to put as a little tuft of hair above there, but it's just nice because it feels soft, right? Like that. Now we're going to dig into the character for his shoulders to give him some weight, right? We're going to continue that line down there. We're going to continue that down here. These little tiny little hands. You see, even the hands are not really, they're not really working hard on the fingers, but those simple shapes. It's like anime. What anime do is anime give you really complex clothing and really elaborate hair designs, but then they give a little dink for the nose and mouth like that, right? But many times people don't care because there's so much detail and appeal in the other parts. Well, I care because I think the mouth is extremely important for expression, but a lot of people forgive it because of the draftsmanship overall, right? And that's what goes on with these characters' hands and feet and things like that. It's like they've got these very simple little fingers, but it doesn't matter. They're like little chipmunks. And the characters are so well drawn, right, that you just kind of, I'm sure he's got a model for his shirt, right? But we're just going to do that, right? So you just kind of just forgive it. Like the feet is just a triangle, but here's how we create the dimension in the triangle, right? This one curved line, right, suddenly gives him nails, right, and an underside to his foot, right? Let's just soften that a little bit, right? So it just gives it this feel, and it tapers in like that. And again here, we're going to do the same thing, right? We're just going to create like an ellipse with a slightly harder edge, right, like that. And then inside it, we're going to create another little kind of mini ellipse, and then we're just going to create these lines on there like that, right? And somehow it creates the impression that it's a nice foot because we balance. See, look at the anatomy in here, right? And then they balance it. They don't just have it round like that or have it like that. It comes in and out like that. It's an informed, remember I used the word informed drawing. It's informed. I could talk about this stuff all day, right? It's so important, right? And of course, what I'm talking about here is not going to help the casual learner. The casual learner just wants to move on and copy the next thing, copy another anime or something like that. So again, these streams are intended for the serious learner. So, you know, if you're feeling good while watching them, just bear that in mind. You know, you got to stick with the stuff I'm telling you. You can't watch it and say, yeah, I got it. You got to go and look at things yourself and look for these things. So we've had fun today. We've drawn all these things. We've also drawn other things which exemplify the worst things like, you know, the modern DuckTales, the modern the Cartoon Network stuff. We looked at that. We looked at why that's so poor and why that takes virtually zero skill and why it is harming cartooning and it is harming the future of cartooning. And anybody who thinks they want to draw cartoons don't have an understanding of the technical craftsmanship, skill and ability that goes into drawing cartoons. And they're seen as something just, you know, you're also getting the wool pulled over your eyes by looking at things like Family Guy and Horseman or whatever rubbish. I see Bob's Burgers garbage and saying, well, that's adult, it's sophisticated. From a drawing point of view, it ain't sophisticated. If you used to look at newspaper cartoons, that's where cartoons in newspapers back in the day, before even hand-drawn animation existed or comic strips existed, they were satire and they were drawn incredibly well. So I don't know where they're going with the whole sophistication line. All right, so that is that. Before I come to the chat, and we have a little bit of a chat before I go, I would like to remind you that if you would like to learn the world's best learning resource in the craft of hand-drawn animation, go over to AMB Animation and learn from the guy that produced animation like what you're seeing in this little video here. AMBAnimation.com, you will see all this stuff, but go to Real Animator Training. That's where you can train to be what I call a real animator, and I have exemplified in this stream what a real cartoonist doesn't draw like and what a real cartoonist does draw like. So go here, you've got tons of videos that explain this place to you. It is divided into two sections, training and edutainment. Training will give you step-by-step follow along archives where you will do simple, you can either buy them in bundles or you can buy them one at a time as per your choice. Training, you follow simple step-by-step videos where you follow along with me as I draw, you draw. So you'll be bouncing balls, you'll be swinging pendulums, you'll be making stickmen walk. Nothing like this, okay? No pulling the wool over your eyes. You're training yourself to do this stuff. Flour sacks, you then move and learn on to learn about model construction in the advanced archive. Got anatomy, so these are step-by-step training archives. The edutainment archives are where we have more of this kind of material, but a little more informal than today. Today was almost like a seminar that you'd get in the training archives, where I kept the banter with the audience to a low. But here you get animation sessions, drawing sessions, ask the animator, animation breakdown. So for example, in the Sakuga and effects, I alluded to this archive earlier. You can watch me break down and study the entirety of this Naruto fight scene, which I basically, no, not the entirety of it. So I made these studies from watching it and drawing and explaining to you, just like today. You watch me draw it one frame at a time and you watch me explain what's going on. why I think the animator did this, why I think the animator did that. So we took it all the way up until this point. So you can see I'm trying to talk, but I did a lot of it. So we took it all the way up until this point. We then went and did the same thing with effects animation that I found interesting. So I broke down and studied those and gave you detailed explanations, just like in today's video, where you saw me doing it with the drawing. So that is the Real Animator Training Library. You can go and sign up to any of these archives. Now is the greatest value. I mean, I've said it here, these informal live stream sessions are packed full of information and value that won't be found in many established courses and degrees. You're getting the price of some of these for the price of branded sports shoes. So when people come at me and say your training is too expensive, you don't know what you're talking about, frankly. As I said, I have somebody in the chat now who's worked on, just come off the latest Disney TV project. He's worked on Ninja Turtles. He's joined this place. I've had people who've paid 180 grand from Cal Arts, then come and join this place. I've had people who've been through Animator and Mentor come and join this place. So they've paid, what we're talking, tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you can have my highest bundle of archives is the price of a gaming laptop or an advanced drone. So with due respect to the people who think this is a bit beyond their price range, you know, Real Animator Training is not for you, okay? Because this is the real deal. You can't get more realer than that. You can't get a better price than that. You can't get better training than this. You can't get better instruction than this. I'm going to go out and say it. Of course, I would say it, but I truly believe, hand on heart, that I'm the world's best hand-drawn animation instructor you're ever likely to encounter. So you can go and learn this stuff from the world's best learning resource, and it's my pleasure. Right, okay, let me now go and talk to some of you guys in the chat. So let me turn my webcam on, turn my mic off. Okay, let's click save on that. You can use that for the thumbnail at the end. What have we got? I was doing the drawing breakdowns from your live streams to learn and see shapes when you draw. Today you gave me a much deeper sight. That was my intention, Michael, because I know how serious you are. I know how much you care. Those drawings from my live streams are helpful, and there's nothing wrong with following them, but those are the very beginning. Those are just hand-eye coordination training and shape understanding, which I know you perhaps don't quite have the shape understanding yet, but you have the hand-eye. I think you've already got hand-eye coordination down pretty well, looking at some of your other personal drawings that I've seen in the past. So I'm not telling you to stop doing that. There's a rite of passage. There's a journey that every person must take, Michael Davis, but I'm just showing you where it should be going and where your mentality should be going, and there's no harm in having that mentality early on. Okay, let's go up and see what people have been saying. Is there a question that I can answer in the chat? Everything looks really similar to me. Rick and Morty, Futurama, Family Guy, they all look the same. Yes, indeed. If AMB saw Clone High, he wouldn't believe what he saw. Okay, Clone High. Clone High. Images. Okay. Right, yeah. I don't believe it, but I believe it at the same time. Yeah. Okay, right. Very nice presentation. Thank you. For some reason, it reminds me of Popeye. Goofy from the 2013 Mickey Mouse TV show. Okay, Life Fantasy has suggested something. But 2013 was actually over 10 years ago. Oh God, that's if I don't know. There's a whole mixture of goofies. If it's the SpongeBob SquarePants looking one, it's awful. It's just as bad. It's typical. They've got noodle arms and legs to try and. It's SpongeBob SquarePants, which fits into the whole beginning of the end life fantasy. I mean, SpongeBob SquarePants is a big block with noodle arms and legs and this typical simple big eye shape, um, graphic eye shape. You know, zero charisma. I guess it has some because it was popular, but from a draftsman point of view, garbage. So yeah, you don't take a character like Goofy that the likes of Milt Kahl has drawn and say let's take out what the Nine Old Men did and replace it with SpongeBob SquarePants. Yeah, you just don't do it. As I said, go to the Louvre, take down the Mona Lisa, and stick up a piece of AI interpretation of what if Leonardo lived, what would it look like today, and hang that in the Louvre and hang it in a three-dimensional screen where you need to wear three-dimensional. That's the way the world's going. They don't care about the art. Technology is art as far as they're concerned. In a way, technology is art, but the people who create the technology are the ones doing the art, not the people, unfortunately, the people using it more so than not are not creating art. They're just using technology and saying, look at what I've done. Anyone willing to form a group study together? We have the AMB Animation Real Animator community on Facebook already. GUBA. The thing about group study is it needs direction. And if you're all studying together and you're all just figuring out on your own and saying, look, I tried to make my own anime fight scene, or I tried to make my own little short, it's not really study, it's activity which is akin to play, trying to be better at playing on your own, you know. A group study should have guidance. If you want to form a group, you don't have to make it my group, but just make sure that you understand why you formed the group before you form it, and say, well, do we have any real guidance in this group, or are we just flattering our egos by trying to make a project, and when that project is made, what have we really learned? What have we really learned? Yeah, you learned what you could have done better and worse, but in terms of the craft, in terms of bettering yourself, where would that energy have been better spent? Perhaps not making a project, perhaps learning some fundamentals. So that's what I mean. I'm not trying to discourage you from a group, but all too often I've seen it, which is why I don't have all these viewer challenges. Maybe my channel, maybe my social media presence would skyrocket if I set weekly challenges. Everybody would be doing it. People would want to get in on it. They'd start seeing it trending on the internet. Oh, this weekly challenge, that weekly challenge. And it'll all have to be challenges to do with trending things like popular anime characters or whatever. But that's who will that do benefit to? It'll do benefit to my viewer count and people wanting to be involved with what I'm doing, but it goes against what that R in the back stands for. Real animator training. So just be mindful. I mean, if you are just wanting to have fun and make a group, I wish you the best, but that's my 2 cents worth on that. Floody, stumbled on your channel around a month ago and you've got some fantastic content. I'm about to finish my final year of arts university. I wondered if you've heard of it. Yes, Bournemouth University. I remember it well. I went to the Surrey Institute of Art and Design before it was called the University of Exeter or whatever, or Canterbury or whatever. I don't know how it is now. I don't know if you just did a lot of software generated stuff, but art school was not a good experience for me, and it didn't matter which school I was in. They were all kind of producing the same things, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing here. Hopefully times have changed, particularly in my native England. I would very much hope so. But if they haven't, then my channel, My training videos are always here to help you as well, sir. It's very nice to have you on my channel, and I wish you the best with your degree and entering the industry. How about Twin Dragons? Oh, I remember that comment. Avatar The Last Airbender doesn't count as modern cartooning, as far as, like, I'm talking about cartooning when we stopped drawing them and we started creating cartoon characters for software to slide around. We may do a human episode of this style stream some other time, because the same thing stands. You all saw that me quickly scribble out Ariel, but it's a little bit different. I mean, it's cartooning that's really suffering. Cartooning is really suffering, and that's what really matters. Because then this mentality is then going to CG, okay, and then AI is learning all this stuff, so it's going to drop and drop and drop and drop, okay, which is great for you real animators who want to stand out and be awesome. You know, just learn from the greats. Bum, bum, bum. Roger Rabbit wasn't by Milk Cow, but a lot of that stuff was King Fu Conan. Mr. Leon, good to see you. Windy Pivot, I remember this person. Stage Lines, Brittany Goddard. Oh, you're drawing my favorite scene from that movie. My pleasure. Enormous difference. You can see anger emitting from her, absolutely. Yes, they are, Akao. Good to see you. Akao, your pencil test is fantastic. Akao, if you don't mind, I was so impressed with your pencil test that I was trying to dig out that elephant you did a long time ago to show people just how far you've come. If you're cool with that, I don't mind. But if you don't want me to do that, then I won't. Akao sharing the training library. Thank you so much. This drawing is making me want to watch the old Chipmunk movie. I've had a feeling you would rag on the Steven Universe drawing, rightfully so. I hope to create something to this standard with my own characters. I'm not here to rag on it, Silver Sun. Right? Okay, I say some things about it that may be hurtful and negative, that I am kind of poo-pooing it. But my main reason on highlighting these things is to open eyes and help people understand. Like, when I did a degree in English lit, not a degree. My spelling and punctuation wouldn't be so pathetic if I did. I did a A-level. So past high school, I did an A-level in English literature. And we had to write essays. Now, the whole point of writing an essay was you had to present an argument and reinforce that argument with points, with quotations, with examples, verified examples that really illustrated your point. So what I'm doing here is I'm giving you a visual essay of why modern cartooning is so bad, and why anybody looking to study and develop their skills in cartooning of any sort, or hand-drawn animation in particular, you need to understand this. And I've illustrated the differences. So I'm not ragging. I know you love Cartoon Network, and you can still love it. I'm just merely bringing to light these things. Dylan Royer has returned. When I do animation, my character starts big and ends small. How do you maintain proportion? By keeping an understanding of the overall shape. Okay, let me give you a quick demonstration. Right. Let me change the scene. Put my mic on. Okay. So let's do a different character. Let's do my rabbit, right? Or my hare. Let's say he's hare. right? The first thing I'm going to do is focus on his silhouette, right? Right? And I'm not even going to use the onion skin, right? We won't use the onion skin, right? And you need to understand the way the character is put together, right? So remember how I talk about, even when I did these drawings, I talk about the shapes, right? I was following the drawing, so I was a bit slow. I wasn't so fast like this, but I said it's what goes inside the shape that creates that. So it's understanding the proportions, right? So we've got the halfway proportion. We've got the halfway proportion, right? Does it kind of feel the same size at this stage, right? Does it feel the same size at this stage, right? And then it's then understanding where the eyes sit, right? You don't, I mean, I would rather just do one drawing, but I'm illustrating it to you like this. Please don't animate like this, right? I would do one drawing and then I'd do the next drawing, right? But I'm just illustrating you, right? So then I know that the nose will sit in here. So I can see those things, they feel the same size. Don't worry about getting this and trying to measure it. You may as well do a bit of software cutout if you're going to do things like that. It'll look dead and not unorganic, and it won't have any life to it, right? So it's about completely understanding let's change his expression a little bit, right? Let's keep that down and keep that up, right? Alright, so it's completely understanding these things, right? It feels the same. But then that's the very beginning. Now we're going to start building in the inside of his face. So it's understanding how we create dimension and illusion to this guy, right? Right, so here we've got things that are kind of like the same. Then we're going to go around the back here. We're going to come like this, right, with a sweeping line. And I'm going to keep flipping forwards and backwards. I'm going to see and understand that, right? Then in here, in this part of the square, we're going to create these lines to create this kind of bandage effect, right? So then we've got these lines creating this bandage effect, right? All the while I can chop and change a little bit. So then we've got this coming here, right? So then let's keep his body turned this way, right? Let's move it like that. So now it's this triangle. So I wouldn't, as I said, don't animate like this. Do one drawing at a time, right? But hopefully I'm kind of illustrating. Now we've got the tuft of hair that sits above his head, right? Like that. Let's lose that. Let's lose that. And the ear. And you need to change the shapes to create a sense of illusion, right? So I want to change the angle of his head here, so I'm going to change these shapes ever so slightly, right? So that's how we kind of keep things the same size, right? Understanding the body proportions as well, right? So the head to body ratio, right? So I know that that's basically his ratio, right? His legs are as long as his body, right? They're always a slight bit bent. So it doesn't matter what I'm drawing, right? Even if I'm having his pose change, right? I have this kind of proportion is kept. So there's the one thing when you do drawing like this, where people always talk about construction, right? So on the one hand, they would say draw the body like this, right? Then draw the hips like this, right? Then have the legs on top like this, right? And then you have the head here. Like that, right? And it's as easy as that, right? The thing is, what they don't tell you, right, is in order to do this stuff, you have to understand a basic shape. We talked about this with the Glen Keane thing earlier, right? Understand a basic shape. But then you have to understand what is represented in that basic shape, right? So this represents the point where the pelvis is, right? And the belly button comes in here. This represents the rib cage, right? This represents the shoulder blades and where the arms sit, right? The collarbone will sit here, right? What am I talking about? That same thing. So I can draw two things here like this, right? But this will represent the femur bone, right? And the patella bone and the tibia and the fibula bone, right? So what they don't, or they neglect to tell you, right? The maxilla, the jaw. What they neglect to tell you is the knowledge, like all these shapes that you're going to see me make, right? You're going to see me make a shape like this, right? Where I don't have to where I can say that I don't really know anatomy, right? I can just draw these shapes, right? All right? Yeah, I can just, and these shapes will look just fine, right? But, and this is what I try to tell people in the training library. Without understanding, okay, this is the collarbone, your upper deltoids connect on there, right, with the middle deltoid. Your trapezius comes to the back but also to the front, like this, right? That's a little bit of a masculine, muscular man's trapezius, so we're going to just taper that in, right? Then your sternocleidomastoid comes here, right? Some of you have seen me do this countless times, but I have to drum it into you again because you've been watching this and you need to be reminded of why I get the nuances right. Right, so here the bicep, here the lateral tricep, the tricep tendon, right? Here the pectoralis major, right, along the sternum. Here the latissimus dorsi, right, the serratus anterior, the rectus abdominis, right, the external oblique, right, coming here. Then here the sartorius, right, the gracilis, the abductor magnus, the abductor brevis, the abductor longus, the rectus femoris, the vastus lateralis, the tensor fasciae latae, right, rectus femius, the gracilis, the abductors, the medialis, right, the patella tendon, the tibialis anterior, the extensor digitorum longus, the extensor helicus longus, right? People say, are you trying to be a doctor? See, I've lost about 9 viewers when I start drawing this stuff. So you see how how important the things that really need to be known. Like, you'll all watch this, but when it comes to this, it's like, I don't want to see that. So those of you who are hanging around, good job, right? This is understanding these nuances of what these muscles are and what they do, right, are what enable me to now, at a stage, right, even from just these shapes like this, right, I can come here and I can start putting informed anatomy, right, and create life drawing style images, right, from my imagination. Because, and then if you can do that, right, if you can do that, it would probably be more this way, right, then your cartooning skills, let's have them looking at a mobile phone. Your cartooning skills are going to be on top of the roof, right? Because now I can add fat to it, right? I can add fat, I can add muscle, the direction the muscle is, the fight of one muscle against another, right? So that's why, right, these drawings are so good. Because that person who has drawn these a little bit less so, right? The person who has drawn these really understands anatomy and is creating an informed drawing, right? So hopefully that helps. Let's change my mic. Well, you see, hand-drawn animation, Bruno, is based on cubism, because you're cheating the eye to look at things from, so by saying I'm comparing Renaissance to cubism, no, because the whole thing of animation is heavily based on, we owe a lot to Picasso. He basically exposed what hand-drawn animators do. A triangle becomes a profile, a square is a front view. The eye on the side Let me just show you again. So thank you for this very good question or attempt to oppose what I'm saying. It illustrates my point. So we take a side view of a head like this, and we have the eye, right, with a bit of the hair there like that, right, right. But now I'm gonna do this, right? This is what hand-drawn animation is all about, my friend. Cubism, right? All about how we subtly change from one shape to another to get somewhere with it, right? The circle of Mickey Mouse, right? This is hair. That's his side view, right? I just do this. I change the angle of the circle a bit. I then put another ear in. I've got the other view. So it's not like comparing Renaissance painting to Cubism, because hand-drawn animation is Cubism. And it's informed Cubism at its highest level, which is why I love Picasso. I can't pretend that I love looking at the drawings because they're in their rawest form, but I bow my head to this man because it explores the various dimensions that we see in the three-dimensional world from 2D in 2 dimensions. So whereas also your point about aren't they different types of expression, or your question, because I don't take it as an argument, I take it as a genuine question, which I respect, Bruno. Thank you so much, because it's allowing me to open eyes even further than where I was going. And we're talking about art, which I love, by the way. Is Cubism, Pointillism, Fauvism, Modernism, Postmodernism were created by the freedom that the artists felt when the camera was invented. They no longer had to create photorealism or true-to-lifeism. Hand-drawn animation never had that problem. It could be argued, because cartoons were abstract anyway, it could be argued that Disney called for a greater move towards realism to get a greater depth of expression, therefore more sophisticated communication. How do you communicate better? Improve your language, improve your English, improve whatever language it is you speak, have a more eloquent, a more varied way of expressing your point. Therefore, sophistication arises. So, these people argued, why be so realistic when we now have the camera? So, they were liberated. A lot of these people, like Picasso, you look, the guy could paint, the guy could draw, but he decided to do that. He was liberated. What's happening in the animation industry today is far from liberation. It is limitation. It is the loss of skill, the loss of expression, and designing within the parameters and the constraints of what the machine can do effectively. So these characters are all designed to be manipulated by a pre-built library of shapes that the artist, void of ability and skill, depends upon to move the character to express his basic range of expression because he hasn't studied acting, he hasn't studied movement, he hasn't studied the human body through life drawing to even understand how the human body expresses itself past lip sync. He hasn't drawn enough facial expressions to know how to simplify a facial expression. He's far from liberated. He's extremely limited. He has no freedom. And even if he was free, he would have no ability to express himself, or the very, very smallest amount. And forget about this being just 2D, which is what we're talking about. When I was storyboarding for 3D animation, even on multi-million-dollar movies, they would say, that would take too long to render. You can draw it all right, but we can't do that. We haven't built that part of the model. That would take too long to render. That would increase the budget. And sometimes to have a character holding something with the locator, having it all this and that passed to another character. I've directed CG animation. I directed 8 episodes of Legend of the Chima for Lego, episode 1. We can't do that with CG. We can't do that with CG. You can draw it, but we can't do that. Again, it's not from a point of freedom and liberation. It's from a point of limitation. Now, where you could go to question me further at that is then, but what about expression? Well, one can either be fully informed like Pablo Picasso and choose to express himself that way, or one could be willfully ignorant and choose to mask their willful ignorance under the guise of freedom of expression. The willful ignorance being the lack of study, the lack of knowledge, the lack of understanding and ability in the craft. So it is in no way the same as comparing Renaissance work to Cubism, because they're different kinds of expression. If you want to put it in that way, you have to understand the context. If you were to compare Renaissance with Cubism, you would do so and Cubism would come out favorably in many ways. Whereas this stuff, other than the fact that it's economical, it's cheap, and any bloody fool can push a mouse, comes out very unfavorably in most regards. So thank you so much, Bruno Giordani, for a very intelligent question and giving me the opportunity to go further in the peeling of the onion of just how far the damage has been done to cartooning and animation with this expression, this limited expression that we are subjugated to today. I'm here to build brain cells. I really appreciate these subtle things. I always watch most everything you do, so AMB teaching is on me for every angle. Thank you, Michael Davis. Flow is important in drawing. Is everyone happy to see? In 3 years, that's impressive. I joined AMB last year and I'm done with the basic archives. Awesome, Zedpo. Awesome. The camaraderie between Cameron Black. Cameron, I saw some run cycle you posted on Instagram with your own character. You're getting good at this paper thing, aren't you? It's wonderful stuff. Keep at it. People giving Life Fantasy the praise she thoroughly deserves. That's why I like kids' cartoons. They're much more creative and appealing. Until recently, adult animation is applying some of this. Okay, I remember that comment. I remember Charlene. 12 Oz Mouse. How did it get TV airtime? Well, it's going to get worse as AI starts coming in on it, because while it might seem I'm running these guys down that are doing it, there are people like Mr. Leon, and Mr. Leon has got a passion and an understanding of art, which is why he's here. Many of them don't, but there are people like him in the industry, and they are still controlling it to some, even with a limited hand, to some degree. So the minute it goes all AI, it's going to get worse. Um, I remember having fun with the music. I have never seen the Chipmunks movie. We were never exposed to it in England. We had the TV series. Then the awful 90s one, Chipmunks Go to the Movies. I always liked the original, early 80s one. Um, but I'm not pulling the wool over anybody's eyes. TV animation is all bad, in terms of quality. It was never to a high standard. The drawings, maybe, particularly for this movie, are to an extremely high standard, but drawing and animation are two different things. Yes, Charlene, the live stream will stay up. By the way, some of these live streams I used to pull for keeping them keeping this kind of great. I always like to give good free to content, but sometimes I've got tiers of free content. I say this is too good to just leave on YouTube and not get any views, and have some 20 something with how I became an animator get millions of views. I've got too much self-respect. But my attitude has slightly changed a little bit. One, I'm not streaming as much as I used to, so I like to gift my subscribers with great content. Um, and the other is people like Charlene, who are, I care about my viewers. Sometimes I think Charlene's got a family, and she's every month she's giving me donations, and I'm like, this business. People should be happy, but at the same time, I'm like, whoa, Charlene's, putting a kid through school, and this, that, and the other, and I'm just so grateful. I'm just so grateful to receive donations from some of you that, if you really want to be thankful of why a lot of some of my recent content that's actually really good, like breaking down the mermaid model sheet, which is what schools won't even teach you it the way I taught you it, is staying up there for free. Is thank people like Charlene, you know who's it's contagious. I'm always giving, but giving and receiving are like a cycle. So it just makes you want to give more, you know. So it's my pleasure. No, this is staying up for you, Charlie, and for everybody else who's subscribed to my channel. Okay, it's not just about donations. I've grown in subscribers a little bit. I've grown in not necessarily in views, but the subscribers, and I appreciate that. So you know, it makes me want to give back a little bit more. AMB, I just arrived. Okay, I remember Mr. Leon's points about that. Now I got what you're talking about. Thank you, Bruno Giordani. I still am happy that I addressed your question earlier, because it was a very good question, and it enabled me to go deeper into the whole origins of art outside of animation. Feed two birds with one stone. I should study the chipmunks for my main character. That it is, KA. Creeper Mafia music. I remember Juan Camilo's point about not fitting into the new version of the character. Why draw the old one? I don't respect the new version of the character. I don't even acknowledge it. There is no new version. Glenn Keane. You don't replace Glenn Keane. So, you know, I reject the new character. I hold on to Glenn Keane. Okay? I don't care what people dress it up as. I reject anybody that would try to replace Glenn Keane. Glenn Keane is one of the most influential figures in animation. And he should be remembered, and his work should be remembered. Let's replace Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, and then we'll replace Glenn Keane. I plan on watching that's why that's okay. Model poses are not necessarily always extremes, but sometimes you have poses from models from character sheets rather than model sheets. They're two different things. So character sheets are what animators are given, and then you have model sheets for cleanups. That it is, Mr. Leon. Oh well, that's the thing. I really, people accusing of me of tracing. It's like the other person said, Studio Anima. I take it as a compliment. The hat, the eye, the nose countering is beautiful. I didn't even have Mickey Mouse idea that was in it. I love it when you point it out. Awesome stage line. He's almost done with the basics library. Yes, the live is going to be stay up. I'm rigging a character right now in Animate. I went to school for traditional, but this is what my client accepts. Yeah, but don't confuse real animation with your day job. Carry on doing it for the clients. But don't, the reason I left the industry is because what I was working on felt like sweeping the road, right? I was storyboarding. I didn't care if I was director of animation for Lego, and I was head of story and storyboarding further things for Lego and all these things. It was moving further and further away from the things that inspire me and the things I like. It's like that guy saying, why draw the old version, draw a new version? No, I don't like the way the industry's gone. I don't like what they do. I'm a creator. It's time. I've outgrown it. So I don't confuse it with my day job. That's not art. That's not animation. It's like flipping burgers or sweeping the road to me, and I don't want to do that. So let's leave that and do some real animation and share real animation with people on the internet who are interested in real animation. So Chris Barrett, keep doing the day job, which is rigging the stuff for your clients. But Mr. Leon does the same thing, but he's in his spare time, he's learning the real stuff. Is possible, can you give your opinion on artist Bruce Timm, more specifically his work with Batman the Animated Series is one of the best examples of how to do an economic cartoon and have it kick ass and be amazing. He draws heavily on 50s filmmaking, which I love. I love 50s television, The Fugitive, 60s, 50s, The Fugitive, Rawhide, shows like that. Bonanza was the 60s or whatever. Old school black and white Batman. Bruce Timm not only has the sensibilities of a great storyteller, as far as I'm concerned, he used the economical design of Space Ghost and practically ripped it off, but brought an element of graphic curves and straights and created this very appealing interpretation of a character that I had no interest in, which was Batman. And of course, you had the great Danny Elfman theme, the whole move towards the dark theatrical thing. I have nothing but praise for Bruce Timm and Shane Glines and those guys. I absolutely love what they do. Is the series all full of great drawing and animation? No, it's TV. It's full of mistakes and bad things, but it's very well designed and very well drawn when it's drawn by the right people. Yeah, absolutely love it. Gravity Falls is the end of well-drawn characters. It's the end of everything. It's awful. I have an idea for involving technology. I don't care about Disney anymore, BC Wednesdale. Disney, like, I finally subscribed to Disney Plus the other day, even when I have no interest in anything the Walt Disney Company does. Why? Because I saw it had those old films like Pollyanna and The Original Parent Trap. No other streaming media has all those classics and all those old... I'd love to have a streaming media in England or New Zealand or wherever I'm based that just showed me 50s, 60s, 70s, even movies, live action, because that's what I like listening to. That's where my mentality for storytelling is at, personally. That's the stuff I enjoy. I'm not interested in what they make now. Particularly, I like what they made in the 80s and 90s, but I have no interest in watching anything that they make now. I don't want to listen to anything that they're trying to tell me. I have no interest. And the things that they're doing to existing properties, I have no interest either. It's like somebody coming, and if you're a religious person, if you follow a certain religious book, somebody coming and say, hey, I've written this book for you and here are my revisions. Good, you read it, not for me. So filmmaking, that's why I'm making the shows I want to make, and we're going to start the crowdfunders when they're ready. I've got my script writer just on the last bit of the pilot. We've almost completed 1 hour of script, which are 2 episodes of a mini-series I've planned called, well, I'll tell you later. Some of you know. And it's this kind of story that I like. Now, I understand that means if I take it to a Netflix, a Disney, even though I've got, I've spent a bit on the script, right? And I've got great designs, I've got a Bible, I've got everything you need to sell it. But I'm not going to do that because I know it will be rejected because it's not telling the story a certain way, shall we say. And I have no interest in telling those stories. They don't interest me. So I want to tell the stories that interest me. And I will market them to the people who are interested in that stuff. There's a market out there. I've seen it with this guy, Rippaverse. He's really learned, he really is exemplary in anybody who's wanting to create their own content. You can. The guy raised 4 million off the internet to make his own comic. He's a shining example of an entrepreneur and artist in one. He employed artists to do his work, but as far as I'm concerned, he's an artist. He absolutely loves the material. He loved comic books, and he wanted to make his own comic book, and he went out and did it. And he catered to his own audience. He has a lot of detractors. He has a lot of people running him down. Well, so what? You're going to always get that. My stuff's not for them. His stuff's not for them. But they want to talk about it. They want to talk about it. That's good. I remember once when I was a Taekwondo instructor and I was doing Taekwondo, people would come and tell me such and such was running down your kicks and he was trying to say this and that. I said, thanks for bringing it to my attention. I never think, or I don't have anything to say about him. If he wants to spend his spare time talking about me, more power to him. I don't care if it's good or it's bad, So the point is I only care about the content I want to make. So when it comes to Disney, I separate Disney from what the Disney that inspired me And don't forget the whole thing, everything that I'm sharing with you, if it wasn't for Disney inspiring me, you wouldn't have this information, those of you that get information from me. But on the flip side, so I separate it. I don't, as far as the new stuff, I don't even acknowledge it exists. I know it exists, but it's like when you're walking down the street and you can smell a lot of dog shit or something, or you see it, you just avoid it. You don't want to spend time looking back and thinking about, oh yeah, well, no, you just move away from. That's the way I regard the new stuff from the Walt Disney Company. I felt about that even before this. People talk about this political agenda. I never cared about. I stopped watching Disney stuff. You know, even Home on the Range was a struggle for me. So I've stopped watching this stuff for a long time. I've got a lot of respect for the director Will Finn. So there are things about that movie I like. But even when they were still making hand-drawn stuff, I was kind of thinking this doesn't feel the same anymore. So I stopped. I checked out of the Disney company long time ago. So it's just like now I have. Back then I would still occasionally look. What are they up to? Now I just couldn't care less. So BC Wensdale, you know, like it or not, Disney will keep making these remakes. Yeah, keep making them. Who cares? Austin G, it's been great. Why do they deliberately draw modern cartoons? Well, I think I've explained that, Aaron Blaylock. If you missed the stream, go back and enjoy it while you're in pieces, while you're drawing or whatever in your spare time. Put it on double speed. The secret science of shape simplification, indeed. Oh, by the way, I'm going to show this with you. Somebody mentions a t-shirt. I don't have a... He says, let's hope for a t-shirt with the secret science of shape simplification on it. And Mr. Leon said, let's pray for that dream. I don't really advertise my t-shirts, but I've got... I mean, this will give you a hint of... I'm going to do a series of free live streams on YouTube featuring this character. See, one of the problems with this tailspin thing is it's not my property, so I don't own it. But I've designed something, and at the moment you can look at him on a t-shirt. So if you go to the AMB product store, you go to merchandise store, you got oh, it's not there. Where has it gone? Has my design been pulled? Oopsie, let's just move that out of the way for a minute. Oh, it's been rejected. Never mind. For some reason, my design has been rejected from the t-shirt stall. So we had a t-shirt up, but now it's been removed. So I was going to show you a new t-shirt that you could get from the AMB store, but it's gone for some reason. Picasso was an influence for Milk Cow, indeed. Every hand or prop variation I made needed to be uploaded to the library. Great, Mr. Leon, you're already taking effect. Pretty relevant as my client is Lego. There you go. Mr. Leon has gone. Red Fox has gone, and everyone has gone. No, I don't do commissions because, with all due respect, most people will not be able to afford me. So that's why I don't do commissions. If you think about it, when I worked in the industry, I used to work for sometimes 300 English pounds a day. I don't know. Hey Siri, how much in US dollars is 300 English pounds, Great British pounds.
300 British pounds is 383 US dollars and 23 cents.
Okay, so around about 400 USD a day, right? So I know that a lot of people that want commissions are basically, you know, people looking to independent artists online. So that's probably why I don't even open my account for commissions. And if people ask me, which I do get loads of questions, can you do this for me, can you do that for me, well, that's great, but if you're gonna message me, then we need to talk the money up front, because I need to know what your budget for the project is. So, but then even then, you know, that's the primary reason, but the other reason is I'm doing my own thing, you know. I've got so many my own projects on the go at the moment, while building courses for the Real Animator Training Library. We're building the Pro Archive. So there you go, Silver Sun. But you know, hopefully not for long, you know. So okay, thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have enjoyed the live stream. They're not as many as there used to be because of my workload at the moment, but I've made it a long one and a very informative one. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it. I'm gonna make a nice thumbnail for it, and then we're gonna I'm gonna go to work. I was probably thinking, I haven't eaten anything all day and it's already 7 minutes past 4. I do intermittent fasting, but that should have been broken about 1.5 hours ago. Okay, see you later, people. Thanks a lot for joining me. I'll see you on the next live. Bye-bye.